the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. Or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number and I promise to play your message out. It is Tuesday, September the 23rd. Here's what's coming up. Questions. Why are the gendarmes stopping almost half the number of migrants from leaving the French beaches than they were this time last year? Why last Friday, 1,072 foreigners departed on illegal small boats were Lay's cops either nowhere to be seen or just standing there watching while taking photographs on their mobile phones? Is this what we're getting for the £500 million Rishi Sunak handed to Macron 2 years ago? 0344 499 1000. Observers are now questioning not so much the ability of the French police to stop the boats, but their actual willingness to do a single thing about the constant armada en route to the UK. Meanwhile, as they headed out to sea, embarking on the 21-mile cross-channel voyage to the Promised Land, the migrants were laughing about Starmer's one-in, one-out scheme, dismissing the PM's swap-a-foreigner deal with Macron as no deterrent whatsoever. It clearly isn't, is it? 0344 499 1000. More questions. Why did the Ethiopian asylum seeker who sexually assaulted a 14-year-old girl and a woman a week after he arrived at Epping's notorious Bell Hotel only get a 1-year jail sentence? 0344 499 1000. He's been in custody since July, so with that taken into account and good behaviour remission, he's probably set to be released within 6 months, max. May only do 3 or 4 months. And remember, folks, Lucy Connolly got 31 months for posting hurty words on Twitter. In his defence, this Ethiopian guy said that he didn't realise that Britain was so strict about sex attacks. Give me strength. 0344 499 1000. In other news, a blistering speech at the United Nations by Donald Trump, in which he stormed that on his recent trip to Britain he saw that London has changed and is now, to use his words, horrible. Adding that asylum seekers have repaid the UK's kindness with crime and they want Sharia law. Is he right? 0344 499 1000. Plus, as Craven Keir Starmer doubles down on recognising Palestine in a transparent bid to retain the Muslim vote, he demands that the so-called Palestinian Authority stops paying rewards for killing Israelis. Shouldn't Two-Tier have thought about this before giving these people the validation they crave? 0344 499 1000. Also, proving that tone-deaf Starmer is out of step with the vast majority, a new poll reveals that 9 out of 10 Brits do not agree that Palestine should be officially recognised. Do you? 0344 499 1000. And, oh, the horror at the Conference of the Damned in Bournemouth as ludicrous Lib Dem leader Sir Ed Davey failed to rule out a potential coalition with Labour after the next election. Big Ed says that a reform government would be a threat to democracy. So Nigel Farage's party winning the most votes at the next election would, according to Big Ed, Sir Ed, be a threat to democracy. No, Ed, that is democracy. What is the point of this ridiculous man? 0344 499 1000. In other news, a new two-tier policing row after a left-wing influencer called on TikTok for right-wingers to be killed. Effing kill them all, she stormed. Kill them all. Why have the cops concluded that no crime was committed when Father Ted writer Graham Linehan was arrested for light-heartedly tweeting that biological males who invade female spaces should be punched in the balls? When Lucy Connolly also went to jail for inciting violence on Twitter. Why has this woman been let off scot-free? Is it just me, or do the Rozzers go easy on left-wingers but come down like a ton of bricks on right-wingers? The woke Rozzers in action, folks. 0344 499 1000. Also later, Elon Musk's father, Errol, responds to shock allegations in the New York Times that he subjected 3 of his children and 2 grandchildren to sexual abuse. The accusations do not include Elon. Naturally, Errol denies these very, very serious allegations. And also, as Bridget Macron sues over US podcaster Candace Owens' story that she was born a male and offers up photographs as evidence, why doesn't she just take a chromosome test? 0344 499 1000. And finally, more disgrace for Fergie as her shame over those fawning emails to her supreme friend, paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, looks set to get her and Prince Andrew banished from royal life, both publicly and privately. Prince William is urging the King to take decisive action and to exorcise the dreadful couple for the rest of their miserable lives. What do you reckon? 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more, so don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Tuesday night together. And we had him on for his debut last week, and we were so impressed we couldn't wait to get him back. So a warm return welcome to barrister and commentator Stephen Barrett. Hi, Stephen.
Hi, thank you. That's very kind. I really do appreciate it.
Well, we did enjoy your contribution last week, so you better be up to speed again this week. Seriously, though, let's kick off with a shocking statistic, really, involving the way the police, the French police, are patrolling their beaches. Now, of course, 3 years, was it... in 2023, 2 years ago, Rishi Sunak essentially handed Macron £500 million for the gendarmes to patrol the northern French beaches and to stop as many boats and as many migrants as they could or can from crossing the Channel. Now, here we are 2 years on, and they don't seem to be doing their job very well at all. In fact, it emerges that, the cops in September, in the 4 weeks leading up to September the 7th, they stopped less than a quarter of the small boats heading for Britain, so 3/4 got through. That figure plummeted from 31.9% in July and August, and that is almost half the 46.7% they intercepted last year during July and August. So they're stopping almost half the number of boats than they less than a quarter. Now, last Friday, Stephen, 1,072 migrants came across the Channel, an enormous amount. Now, apparently, as the first boat left in the early hours of the morning, with about 100 migrants on board, there were no cops to be seen. And throughout the day, the best the cops could manage was to stand there taking a few photographs on the beach. Apparently, they had a patrol boat out in the sea, just sitting there watching the Armada departing for Britain, and they had a patrol plane going around in circles above them, just watching. Now, the question's now being asked, it's not so much do these gendarmes have the ability to stop the boats, it's are they even willing to stop the boats? Do they even want to stop the boats? Because it just seems more and more that they're just standing there watching, taking pictures and letting people leave. It's not good enough, is it, for £500 million?
No, and I think Keir Starmer has also given them some extra hundreds of millions of pounds.
Yeah, I think you're right. Sorry to interrupt. I think you're right. Actually, if you add it all up, it comes to the best part of £750 million we've given them over the past few years. So we're not getting much value for our money, are we?
No, but I mean, think of it from their point of view. Why on earth would you do anything to stop one of these boats? Why would you? I mean, of course you take the money. That's perfectly logical. I mean, I'm a barrister and I don't commit, and never committed or never knowingly committed a crime. So I'm a bit more OCD than most people in not breaking rules. But even I can understand why you would say yes to hundreds of millions of pounds with no intention of necessarily doing the job. It would put them at risk to do anything at all. They have no allegiance to our country in any way. Nationalism, by the way, Kev, is what's going to come back. This is what the idea that actually, do you know what? We're not some kumbaya land of happy clappy people across the world. We are nation states. And really, we should never have outsourced this to a foreign state that has no interest in looking after us, no interest in protecting us. And why would it even bother? It's almost insane to offer money. And just as a warning from history, just as we found out with the Danegeld and then the Eastern Roman Empire found out with the Arab mercenaries, if you give large amounts of money to foreigners to protect your border, you often get invaded by them. Now, I don't think Macron's going to invade us, but why are we giving away hundreds of millions of pounds for nothing? They were never going to do it, and they're not doing it. This is not a surprise.
Absolutely not. And the Sunday Telegraph, a journalistic team from that paper, were there last Friday, and they were reporting, literally just 3 cops, apparently, as a couple of the boats went, just milling around taking pictures with their mobile phones. A Coast Guard boat sat 50 metres from all the small boats as they left, just watching, and a Coast Guard plane circled above. They just seem to be maintaining a watching brief. They're not actually doing anything. And as I say, alarmingly, this time last year they were stopping almost twice the number of boats they're stopping now, twice the number of migrants. And in the 4 weeks up until September the 7th, they stopped 31.9%, so less than a third, and that now has plummeted in the couple of weeks since September the 7th to less than a quarter. So yes. They're just not doing anything, essentially. They're letting all these people leave unchallenged. And along the way, the journalists from the Sunday Times spoke to some of the migrants. They said, what about the one-in, one-out scheme? And the migrants were just roaring with laughter and just saying, are you kidding? You call that a deterrent? What a load of nonsense. It won't stop. There was a cartoon in one of the papers, I can't remember which paper it was, at the weekend, and it was a migrant, a couple of migrants standing on the French beach, and one of them saying, I'm not going to risk that crossing. There's a 2 in 33,000 chance that we could be sent straight back. It's sort of, I mean, one in, one out is comically farcical as a deterrent, isn't it?
Yes, and really the lawyers who make up our government know this. And I said last time that either they are just very, very bad lawyers or they are lying. And they really should know that they haven't fixed our legal system, so we can't really do anything. We're never really going to even have, I mean, one in, one out is pathetic on its own merits, but we're never even going to have that, because they will use the legal system here to block the one out, and then we'll keep giving the one in that France will keep flying over to us. So we're literally taking boats and plane loads now.
I know. And one thing I will say, Stephen, that so far this week, I mean, OK, it's early doors, it's only Tuesday, but we haven't heard of any more migrants being returned under the one in, one out, have we? We heard of 3 last week. There were still quite a few challenges going on. 3 came back last week or were sent back to France this week. We haven't heard of Dicky Bird this week. So I wonder what happened to that scheme.
Well, it's also it must be quite attractive to come here for free, stay in a hotel. I mean, we're going to get on later to the ones who then commit crimes, but have a jolly time, and then be flown home with a bag of cash, because they're often offered about $3,500 to go back. So this really is pathetic. I mean, Mr. Trump, which I think we'll get onto later, but he really has crystallized this. We are acting in an insane way. Why are we doing this?
Yeah, it is absolutely absurd. And for the life of me, I cannot work out why Keir Starmer, Yvette Cooper, previously the Home Secretary, and I presume now Shabana Mahmood, the current Home Secretary, think that one in, one out is in any way a deterrent. It's not. I mean,
they can't. They can't honestly believe that. I just can't. You can't be that dim. You know, you just can't be. We all know this. You know, this is just not. I don't think it's acceptable now. I think they need to be called out to their face by journalists at conferences and just say, you know, you cannot believe that this will work.
Yeah. I mean, at best, what they're saying to the migrants is that out of every 17 of you, we're going to pick one. And you may well get deported. As we know now, the chances are you won't get deported because your immigration lawyer will successfully challenge that deportation. But if we give the scheme the benefit of the doubt, which it doesn't deserve, the best option or the chances of a migrant getting sent back are 1 in 17. That is well worth rolling the dice on, isn't it?
Yes, and these are young men who have rolled the dice far more dangerously. I mean, there have been far more dangerous parts of this journey. If you take one coming from Eritrea, there would have been far more dodgy parts of the journey. There are stories coming out of Libya of massive human rights abuses and even active slavery of some of these people as they pass through. So there are really serious, dangerous spots. The idea that you stand on the shores of France, you can see Dover, and you're slightly worried that the weak, pathetic British government might possibly deport you, when they all know that they won't. They all know, and they're all sharing this on social media. I mean, we are a joke of a nation.
Yeah.
We are, to quote Shakespeare, and this is in Richard III, but we are a queen in jest. You know, where is our majesty? Where is our power? Where is our state? We're a joke.
Yeah, exactly right. And one last point about the gendarme on the gendarmerie on the French beaches, the northern French beaches. What they do is, if they do stop any of the small number of migrants that they do stop, as I say, in the last couple of weeks, less than a quarter. Think about that. 3/4 coming across. The ones that they do stop, they very, very rarely detain them. So they stop them getting on the boat and they go, "You get back to the sand dunes, you." So they just wander back, go back to their camp, regroup and come back another day. Again, it's farce upon farce.
Well, it is a farce, but Kev, if you and I mean, I'm a dad, and I think if you think about those French policemen as dads, what incentive have they possibly got to keep these dangerous young men near their children and wives? They've got none. And it's okay, the British government has paid you millions of pounds to do this. You're technically employed to do it. Right, yeah, but I've also got kids and a wife, and I want them to be safe. There's simply no incentive on foreign policemen to protect our border. We have to protect our own borders.
Yeah, you're right. These gendarmes, these lazy cops, they couldn't give a damn. You're absolutely right. This is turning into a sick comedy. It really is. Let's go to break now, Steve. When we come back, more with the migrant crisis, really, but we need to talk about this Bell Hotel asylum seeker, Hadush Kabatu, who got just 12 months for 2 sexual assaults. That's ridiculous, isn't it? That next, stay tuned.
the number of foreign nationals on universal credit is estimated to be about 1.3 million people, right? That's not a small amount of people at all. And that's actually increased by 40% just over the last 3 years. And if you look at the overall cost of it, not just with universal credit, but with other benefits as well. If there is a foreign-born national inside just one household, that's costing taxpayers upwards of £1 billion a month, which is like £12 billion a year, which is more than enough to take a penny off income tax.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with barrister and political commentator Stephen Barrett. Stephen, at the notorious Bell Hotel, the asylum seeker Hadush Gebrselassie Kebatu was only in there for a week back in July when he assaulted two women. One was a 14-year-old girl, the other was a woman in Epping. He's been in custody since July and today he was sentenced for these two sexual assaults to 12 months, 1 year. Now, he's been in custody since July, so with remission, he'll probably end up doing about sort of 3 or 4 months. Bearing in mind, you know, Lucy Connolly, for example, did 31 months or got 31 months for posting hurty words on Twitter. This guy, Hadush Kebatu, he's a 41-year-old Ethiopian. He now says his firm wish is to be deported back to his home country. And even though there in Ethiopia the age of consent is 18, Kebatu insists that he did not know that the UK was so strict about sex attacks, men making sexual advances to women. He didn't realise that. Now, I mean, first of all, let's discuss the 12 months. 12 months for two sexual assaults? Yeah. That's ridiculous, isn't it?
I understand that there were actually 5 offences, but 2 victims. So I think the 12... I'm very happy to say that I think the 12 months is absolutely pathetic. I think that sentencing in this country is completely broken. I appeared on another channel and I had a criminal KC on the other side to me who argued that actually no, sentencing must be kept in the hands of experts. Well, if this is what the hands of experts produces, then I suggest that sentencing laws should return to the people. They should be made by ministers who are directly accountable, and when incidents like this happen, we need to all then go, Minister, you need to resign, because people should get much, just on a basic level. And I don't, because they will scream racism at all of us. So I want a universal, increase in sentencing for all offenders who commit sexual offences. I don't care what race they are. I want this treated seriously. This is a very serious thing. A 14-year-old girl has been absolutely traumatised. She's a little girl. You know, that we lowered the age of consent to 16 because, we felt that we were pushing forward with liberality. When I was, a young man, it was 18. 14 is far too young to be anywhere near anything like this, particularly with a 41-year-old man. I think most people have an instinctive understanding that if it's a 16-year-old with a 17-year-old and, they're dating and in love, we sort of have a different view of the entire event. And that's perfectly human and perfectly normal. This is a 41-year-old man. She doesn't know. This is absolutely traumatic. This is the height of trauma. To give only 12 months is to betray the children of the United Kingdom. I don't have any other words for that. I then have some disappointing news for you, Kev, because Labour just voted to reduce the amount of time that offenders like this will spend in prison. So he only had to spend 30% of his time in prison. So he's going to be let out.
pretty damn soon, because as I say, he's been inside since on remand since July. Let's just quickly run through exactly what he did. So you're right, Stephen. He was found guilty of 2 counts of sexual assault, attempted sexual assault, inciting a girl to engage in sexual activity, and harassment without violence. And what happened was that he went for this 14-year-old girl, tried to kiss her, put his hand on her thigh and brushed her hair after she offered him a bit of pizza, apparently. And then when this woman stepped in and said, hey, you got to stop doing that. By the way, he told the girl and her friend he wanted to have a baby with them and inviting them back to his hotel, the Bell Hotel. This older lady stepped in and he then put his hand on her thigh and tried to kiss her. So she was just trying to stop this horror, and he went for her as well. And he's got 12 months. Now, what I find particularly disconcerting about this, I mean, obviously all justice should be equal, but everybody knows, including the judge in this case, or magistrates, I think it was, perhaps this case should have gone to Crown Court, so we could have sentenced him to a longer sentence. But either way, the magistrates, the court knew that the eyes of the world were on this case, and we hand down a ludicrously light sentence for 2 sexual assaults. It's extraordinary. And by the way, Stephen, also, this conviction, this sentence, absolutely vindicates the poor people of Epping who have been protesting and demonstrating about this asylum seeker hotel, the Bell Hotel, in their midst, which they say quite fairly is full of young men of sexually active age with not much to do. I think at least one more of them has been arrested on alleged sexual offences as well. And of course, only last week, another asylum seeker was found prowling around a school in the same area. He wasn't staying in the Bell Hotel, but this does vindicate all these people saying about the people about, racist, you know, racist. No. These are parents. These are people who are worried about their children, husbands who are worried about their wives. This sentence is a disgrace. It's too light. But this conviction does prove that the people of Epping are quite right in what they've been doing, are quite right to protest, and quite right to be extremely worried.
Yes, they are. They absolutely are. I also think it returns. So the first thing I want to say, Kev, is that lady, although she was a victim herself, she's a hero in this scenario.
Yes,
because she stepped in to protect a 14-year-old girl. So I don't actually know her name, but so sadly I can't name her and call her a hero. But she's a hero as far as I'm concerned. Anybody who steps in to protect children is a hero, you know, and that's what we need as a community, as a country. It totally vindicates the parents of Essex. It really puts in the even more damning light the words of the Court of Appeal judge, who said that the needs of the migrants, so the needs of this sex offender, outweigh the risk to the residents of Epping, which I think is absolutely, probably, I want it to be the lowest that our courts go, because I'd quite like our courts to redeem themselves. I don't know whether it will be or not. And then the most important point, Kev, you get right at the end, which is that this guy walking around prowling schools in the Epping area in Essex, and all they cared about was that he didn't live at the Bell Hotel. It's like, that is the least important thing I care about at all. This is a guy walking around terrorising schools. They kept refusing to arrest him, and yet inside the schools we had reports of children under desks, teachers telling children to hide and be scared. So inside those classrooms there was just terror. And I don't care if it turns out that he didn't live at the Bell Hotel and he just didn't know what he was doing. He has terrorized children, and this is where the state is using these migrants to terrorize us.
Indeed, and
evil.
And let's that's a good word for it, evil. Now also, let's remember that, as you well know, Stephen, the wheels of justice in this country grind forward at a glacial pace. It's a very slow justice system we have. So we have thousands and thousands of asylum seekers in hotels the length and the breadth of this land. And while we've had this case here, hundreds of these migrants, asylum seekers, have been arrested and charged with various serious offences, a significant number of them sexual. So there is more of this to come, and it just proves that letting in all these guys, these young men, as I say, of sexually active age, who hail from cultures where you're not even allowed to look at a woman's big toe, let alone any of the rest of her, and they get here and they don't understand our culture, and it's a recipe for disaster. So we have quite a few, many more cases like this coming down the pipeline, and I think the more asylum seekers we see in the dock charged with sexual offences, and more to the point found guilty of sexual offences, the more the people of this country are going to become extremely furious.
Yes, and it's about culture, not race. So one of the examples I like to give, Kev, is to imagine that we were importing thousands of 9th century Norwegian Vikings. Okay, so they're ethnically quite close to us, and there's not going to be a racial element. But do you know what, Kev? We'd have massive problems. We wouldn't be able to put them up in migrant hotels anywhere because they'd cause massive social problems. We'd have huge amounts of sexual offences committed. We'd have violence offences committed because they would be inculcated in a culture that is incredibly dangerous and destructive to civilized society. It's got nothing to do with race. Yeah. You know, these young men are no different from importing 9th century Vikings. It's exactly the same thing. And we really just need the complete lack of common sense. I really do have to echo again that I'm so glad that President Trump spoke honestly at the UN today.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about that a little later in the show. But
let's get back to common sense, because these men are a danger. I want them viewed as a de facto danger, a default danger. Yeah. I think we should assume they are dangerous. There are too many offences now. One was just found guilty today of a load of 6 stabbings back in 2020 when, because of COVID, we tried to move them from flats into a hotel or vice versa. The details really don't matter. It doesn't matter whether the dodgy man lived at the Bell Hotel. Yeah. It matters that he's a dodgy man. Yeah. Let's just stick with them. Essex police in particular really like to distract you with boring and completely irrelevant facts. It just doesn't matter. Yeah. These people are a threat. They are a danger to us. They are a danger to our children and to our women and to anybody. This is not rational to bring them here, feed them, house them, give them money, and then say, okay, just go about your business. I'm sure you'll be fine. I bet you won't harass a school tomorrow. It's insane.
It is insane. And we're just looking at footage. If you're watching on the TV, this was his arrest. You can see on his face, he's a bit bemused. It's like, what have I done wrong? You know, they don't quite see that, you know, kind of putting their hands on a woman's thigh or trying to kiss a 14-year-old girl is all that much of a crime. They don't really see it. So therein lies our problem. Now, this is not the first asylum seeker to be found guilty of a sexual offence. Some of them have been found guilty of serious rape and they're doing time already. But let me tell you, there are quite a lot of these cases coming down the tracks, and over the next few months and the next year, you're going to get more and more of this. And I predict that the mood in the country will become darker and darker about this. It's a real problem. So let's move on, though, Steve. When we come back, we'll have a quick chat about Starmer recognising Palestine. And then after that, as you just alluded to, we'll talk about Donald Trump's extraordinary speech today at the United Nations, in which he sort of lambasted London, saying it's horrible now, it's changed. He said that asylum seekers are repaying British kindness with crime. They're committing crimes and they want Sharia law and so on and so forth. It was an extraordinary attack. And you're going to get the lefties, they'll all go, well, why don't you leave, you know, sort your own country out, leave us alone, you know, don't you talk about our country. Yeah, well, they can say that as much as they like. But I thank God for Donald Trump. I thank God for J.D. Vance and American politicians like them who are prepared to point out the massive problems we've got here, because our politicians, our complacent politicians, don't seem to say a word about it. So here's to Donald Trump. We'll talk about that later. But next, Palestine. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with barrister and political commentator Stephen Barrett. Stephen, I think we'll probably spend the rest of your time with us up until the top of the hour, with Donald Trump. Because Donald Trump, I want to talk about him in two respects. He's delivered this barnstorming speech at the United Nations in the presence of many European leaders. I think Macron's there. I think Yvette Cooper's there. First off, we'll talk about his comments on London and Britain in just a little while. But he did get stuck into the Palestinian issue, in other words, Britain's recognition of Palestine. A couple of things we should take on board. First of all, 9 out of 10 Brits in a new poll have revealed that they do not support Starmer recognising Palestine. So that's 90% of Brits do not agree with the Prime Minister in this endeavour. Also, fury is growing on the Prime Minister's tone-deaf Twitter post yesterday wishing all Jewish communities a happy Rosh Hashanah, their new year. This was just after he recognised Palestine. The Jewish community are furious about that. Talk about tone-deaf, tin-eared. And also, today, he is demanding that the Palestinian Authority, which is the kind of putative government of a state that doesn't really exist, but they are the Palestinian Authority, they pay terrorists for killing Israelis. They give them special rewards. So two-tier Keir has demanded that they stop doing this. Well, my thought about that was, shouldn't he have thought about that before he recognised Palestine? It's like after the fact, he said, oh, by the way, can you stop giving people money for killing Israelis, just so that my recognition of Palestine doesn't look quite so ridiculous. But let's go over to New York, as it were, and let's have a look at what Donald Trump had to say about all this.
As everyone knows, I have also been deeply engaged in seeking a ceasefire in Gaza. Have to get that done. Have to get it done. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. We can't forget October 7th, can we? Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state. The rewards would be too great for Hamas terrorists for their atrocities. This would be a reward for these horrible atrocities.
Well, Stephen, he's not the first to say this, of course. Kemi Badenoch has said it. In fact, virtually every politician, apart from people in the Labour Party, have said recognising Palestine is a reward for Hamas terrorism. It is a reward for what they did on October the 7th, that dreadful atrocity. It clearly is. Why is Keir Starmer doing this? Because he wants the Muslim vote. It is the most craven of reasons for this. And the president, as I say, echoing that feeling that us and France recognising Palestine is a reward for Hamas terrorism. In my view, this is an egregious mistake by our Prime Minister. What do you think?
It's yet another betrayal by a Prime Minister who, despite a very short term in office, has littered himself with nothing but betrayal after betrayal after betrayal. It's no different from throwing the Chagos Islanders under the bus. It hurts more to those of us specifically who saw images and videos of the 7th of October. I personally often talk about a small baby called Kafir Baibas and his little brother and his mum, and I can't get them out of my head. This was an atrocity. It's probably the worst atrocity I think, and I hope, let's add I hope, of my lifetime. but it's certainly not in any way sensible to recognise Palestine during the conflict. For those who are not as connected to the issues, so what we might just call Middle England, I think Middle England woke up to this a number of months ago when they just looked at the difference between the two rallies. You know, if you rally through London, leave a load of litter, scream, cause violence, let off violent, you know, clamber over war memorials, you're not going to win over the heart of Middle England. You're just not going to. Whereas all the pro-Israeli or the pro-Jewish marches, and I helped organise or helped draft a little bit of a tiny part of one of the pro-British Jewish marches. We were organised. We left no litter. You know, children came along. I brought my child. Little people were there. It was very safe. Everybody got on with the officers. One of the most scary signs I saw was "Hummus, not Hamas." You know, it's just basic human decency. So although the Jewish community here is very small, I do think it has won the heart of Middle England. So it doesn't surprise me that 9 out of 10 do not approve of this, even if long term they might want a two-state solution, which Israel has always offered. I mean, the other point I like to get across, and I want your listeners and viewers to know this, people who talk about a genocide in Gaza are just plain wrong. The Israeli army has acted in a way more cautious way than we have ever behaved. We, the United Kingdom, have a far higher ratio of innocent civilian casualties to enemy killed in war than Israel has in this tiny little territory. We are not as well behaved as Israel is being. I mean, it's just absolutely astounding that Israel is held to this ridiculously high standard, meets it, and then is still criticised regardless of what happens. So I'm not surprised it's 9 out of 10, to be absolutely honest.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you in a very light way, I'll tell you what was interesting. Do you remember, I'm sure you're a massive fan of the Eurovision Song Contest, as of course am I, but do you remember the recent song contest? Israel came second. And they would have won. So what happened was Israel absolutely stormed it in the public vote. So you have two tranches of the vote. Half of the votes are from the official judges, you know, the nation, you know, the British team and the British judges and the Dutch judges and so on and so forth. So they account. So they account for half of the final tally. The other half are the public votes. The people who vote, you know, watch the acts and pick up the phone and, you know, stick in their choice for the win. And so this is all around Europe, and indeed goes further away, doesn't it? Israel as well, of course. And Israel got no votes whatsoever from any of the official judges, but absolutely stormed it in the public vote. So much so that they nearly won. They came second. Another sign that all these do-gooders, these lefties, you know, who don't like Israel, that their dislike of Israel, their sort of semi-anti-Semitism is not reflected by millions of people around the country. And that's why I don't find it that surprising that 9 in 10 Brits actually do not agree with the recognition of Palestine.
No, and I'd also add that will include an awful lot of our decent Muslim British people, and they tend to get forgotten in this discussion, and I don't like that, because that's not fair to them. But in the privacy of a poll like this, they can vote honestly. They may well wish in their heart for a two-state solution down the line, and many people do, but they will have looked at this pragmatically and just said, you cannot reward Hamas. And the Palestinian Authority is no better, which our Prime Minister admits by now, saying, now that we've recognised you, can you please stop paying to murder Israelis? Yeah. I mean, that's just insane.
I know. Yeah. After the fact, it was one thing I forgot. Can you stop killing Israelis, paying people to kill Israelis? Could you stop that, please? But as I say, I mean, this is, you know, he said it was the morally right thing to do. It's actually the absolute opposite of that. And when you talk about genocide, all these lefties go, it's genocide, genocide, genocide. Actually, it's not, because genocide requires a legal definition. There's a requirement. The legal requirement for genocide has not been reached in Gaza. So when people say stop the genocide, there actually technically is no genocide. I'm right, aren't I?
You are right. You are absolutely 100% right on law, and our own government have admitted it. So our own governments have come out and said it. I mean, a concept we need to get back is he who asserts must prove. So anybody who wants to go on about a genocide has to evidence a genocide. Go on then, show us the evidence. But there is, if there was any, you can bet it would have been out by now. And what you've got is this performance around this, because there's a bunch of people in our country who just want to scream and scream and scream and get their own way through threat of violence and screaming, really. Yeah. But they are 1 in 10 of us. We need to have courage now. Yeah. And the other thing I should say, Kev, just to bring it back to the main story, is that I think without question that speech by Donald Trump is the most impressive speech I have ever seen at the United Nations in my life.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Stephen, because that tees up very nicely our next section. We'll go to break now and we'll talk about that very speech after these messages. Stay tuned, folks.
Mentioned the Singaporean model, right? They review it every 5 years. You've got to actually be able to bring benefits. You've got to be able to prove that you can integrate. I think actually you walk around your home, Julia, in London, and I imagine that you'll find many people not too far away from where you are that simply do not integrate within British life.
Absolutely.
And ultimately we cannot have the social cohesion that we have been so used to for so very long if we actually allow this to continue.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, Stephen Barrett and I have been discussing the President Donald Trump addressed the United Nations today, and frankly he let rip. He had a go at London, saying that all of our migrants, our asylum seekers, repay our kindness with crime. He said London's now horrible, it's changed, we have a terrible, terrible mayor, he hates Sadiq Khan, and he said that we want to go to Sharia law. I'm not sure that's true, but I know where he's coming from. He also talked astonishingly about the United Nations and the fact that United States rejects the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime and deplete our social safety net. Well, they don't allow that in America anymore, but they do over here in Britain, as we know. Let's listen to the President. This is him on Sadiq Khan, London and Sharia law.
I have to say, I look at London, where you have a terrible mayor, terrible mayor, and it's been so changed. Now they want to go to Sharia law, but you're in a different country. You can't do that. Both the immigration and their suicidal energy ideas will be the death of Western Europe if something is not done immediately. This cannot be sustained.
He is so right, and I wish there were some British politicians who would echo what he's saying. And here he is, Stephen, talking about the United Nations and, if you like, the global migrant crisis.
The UN is supposed to stop invasions, not create them and not finance them. In the United States, we reject the idea that mass numbers of people from foreign lands can be permitted to travel halfway around the world, trample our borders, violate our sovereignty, cause unmitigated crime, and deplete our social safety net. I'm not mentioning names. I see it, and I can call every single one of them out. You're destroying your countries. They're being destroyed. Europe is in serious trouble. They've been invaded by a force of illegal aliens like nobody's ever seen before. Illegal aliens are pouring into Europe. Nobody's doing anything to change it, to get them out.
Well, primarily there, Stephen, he's pointing the finger at Britain, isn't he? And he's right. And what a tragedy that we have to have the American president telling us the terrible things that are wrong with this country. We don't seem to have a single politician over here with his gift for communication and with the guts to tell it like it is. As you say, it was a great speech, and we're never going to hear it from Starmer. We're never going to hear it from Badenoch or anyone else over here. Maybe just Nigel Farage on a good day. But yeah, it's America telling us where we're going wrong.
What's deeply moving is that he genuinely and obviously has a real affection for the people of Britain. So everybody who voted 9 out of 10 in that poll on Palestine, he has a love and affection for them. And he spoke lovingly about the North Sea and what a gift it is to us and what a gift it could be. The other incredibly striking thing about what the president has said is that I started in the media and on social media 5 years ago. And if I'd said what he'd said, I would have been torn to shreds. I'd have no reputation. I'd have nothing left intact, because that's the country we were. Not a country where we didn't know what the truth was, but a country where we weren't allowed to say what the truth was. And the most common criticism I've had from other friends, perhaps friends who are MPs or prominent lawyers or just other successful professionals, is, oh, don't you think you're taking a terrible risk saying the truth? And it's like, why am I having to take a terrible risk saying the truth? And for Donald to just come out with all of it, truth bomb after truth bomb after truth bomb, was just remarkable for me to hear. Yeah. The United Nations does not exist to facilitate mass migration, but that's what it's doing. The UN does not exist to promote terror, yet it supported Hamas, and Hamas did not build these terror tunnels on their own. They ran a program for water pipes into Gaza, which Hamas turned into rocket launchers. You know, we are facilitating our own demise. This is insane. I don't know any other word for it, but the Donald has come among us to wake us all up.
As he said last week during his state visit, that migration, the amount of migration we're allowing, illegal and legal, destroys countries from within. It was a very good phrase. And we are destroying ourselves from within. He also talks about our suicidal energy policies. You know, this the rejection of North Sea gas and oil, Ed Miliband's absolutely incoherent mess, green nonsense that just does not make sense and is costing us a fortune. Our energy bills are 5 times less than they are in America because we won't frack. We've stopped exploring, we've stopped drilling in the North Sea, and so on and so forth, and replacing it all with more and more windmills, more and more solar panels at great expense, and it's costing us a fortune and it's ruining our economy. We should frack, we should drill, baby, drill, save every citizen in this country a fortune on their energy bills, and repair our broken economy. Our green obsession is ruining our economy. He's right, isn't he?
He's absolutely right. And what was really very charming about his speech, because I think he is quite funny. I agree with that. Yeah. But he sort of had a little dig at the Prime Minister, because he just said, I said to him every day the North Sea, and then the next day the North Sea, and then the next day the North Sea, because, you know, I didn't want him to miss it. I felt like he was going to forget. and that is quite a good criticism of our Prime Minister, who does seem to live from crisis to crisis and from day to day. And if the Donalds just, I mean, basically Donald Trump could rescue his prime ministership, because if he took his advice, if he actually drilled in the North Sea, fracked the shale gas, and brought the energy price, which is, as you point, stratospherically high, brought it down low, the economy would boom, we'd all be happier, you know, pensioners wouldn't freeze in winter, and maybe Starmer would face a political future.
Yeah, trouble is he won't listen, Stephen, but I wish he would. Stephen, great to talk to you. That's Stephen Barrister. We'll be back in a minute.
My message to people.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum. In just a little while, we'll be talking to the furious locals up near the Lake District, where, despite an impassioned campaign, they are about to have imposed on them a mega mosque, a massive Islamic worship centre, where they say, well, why is this? Because there's only 1% of the local population who are actually Muslims. So we'll talk to one of the campaigners up there. Also at 8:45, our friend from France, Gavin Mortimer, the Spectator's man over there, he'll be joining us because I think this Bridget Macron, the president's wife, 72-year-old wife, she's suing the American podcaster Candace Owens, because Candace Owens did, who I've interviewed on this show, she did a series, a TV series, a YouTube series, which alleged that Bridget Macron was born a man, is in fact biologically male. Now Brigitte, we're told, is very, very upset about this, and therefore she's launched legal action in America against Candace Owens. And she's going to provide, it has provided what she said, incontrovertible photographic evidence that proves she's a female, she's a biological female. Well, fair enough, but if she wants to prove this case once and for all, while all the French journalists seem to say, oh, it's a lie, it's a lie, it's just a lie, it's a conspiracy theory. You know, I'm not saying putting my two penneth either side of the coin. I don't know. But I would have thought if you're Brigitte Macron and you want to, you know, win this case, you just have a chromosome test. You know, that's what Candace Owens said. Well, I'd take a test. But she's just saying, oh, I've got some pictures. So why doesn't she take a test? It's a bit odd, isn't it? We'll talk about that later in the hour. Take your calls in half an hour. 03444991000. What do you think about the 12-month, very light sentence for that asylum seeker in Epping who's just been found guilty or sentenced for 2 sexual assaults, one a 14-year-old girl and another against a woman who tried to help the 14-year-old girl. He only got 12 months. He's been inside, he's been in custody since July the 2nd, early July. He'll be out within 3 months, 4 months. What do you think about that? Is that long enough? And of course, also, let me know what you think about Donald Trump, what he's saying about Britain. He's saying that basically our crazed migration policies and our crazed energy policies are destroying us. He said we are destroying ourselves. He's right, isn't he? 03444991000. But first, let's talk about two-tier policing. There's no doubt about this. Now, I should preface this by saying, you know, of course, Lucy Connolly, who I sat down with last week and did a very full and frank interview, about 45, 50 minutes. Lovely lady, by the way, very nice lady. She got 31 months, 2 years and 7 months for inciting violence, racial hatred as well, but inciting violence on Twitter because she said, you know, she lost her temper during the Southport riots, you know, send them all home, burn them and all that kind of stuff, inciting violence. A lot of people said, well, don't be ridiculous, she's 200 miles away. What does it matter what a mum in Northampton said about what was going on in Southport? But nevertheless, bang, she went to jail. So there you have it. Graham Linehan, the creator of Father Ted, the writer, the comedy writer, was arrested at Heathrow Airport coming back from America because he had tweeted, he's a very big campaigner, a kind of opponent of the trans lobby, and he had tweeted in the States, bearing in mind he's an Irishman, he's not British, he tweeted in the States that if a biological male invades a female space, punch him in the balls. You know, light-hearted, I would suggest. But he was arrested. 5 cops, armed cops, arrested him. Well, so now watch this. This is a woman called Charlotte Hayes, and she is a left-wing activist on TikTok, a sort of left-wing influencer. This is what she posted on TikTok.
Just got shot in the neck at his own debate rally. I try to avoid American politics if possible, but I've opened X to a bunch of little crying and whinging about how political violence is never the answer. These people are gunning for politics that is inherently violent to its people. These people are gunning for politics that are inherently violent to a population. To marginalised people, to people who need access to healthcare. This is the same across the West. This isn't just the US. This is England too. I'm sick of this idea that you can't meet violence with violence. If somebody was smacking you in the face in the corner of a room over and over, you're going to hit them back. You have to. You're not getting out of that unless you do. These people do not care if you live or die. They don't. As long as you can work for them and make them money, and once you're useless, they don't care. They want you to die. Why is anyone condemning that? Kill them all. Kill.
So she finishes that diatribe. This is obviously in response to Charlie Kirk's, the Conservative commentator, Conservative campaigners' assassination a couple of weeks ago. So she finishes that diatribe against right-wing people who've been saying, look, violence is not the answer. It's not the answer. Shooting Charlie Kirk dead is not the answer. That's not political debate. Well, she says, no, I'm sick of these right-wingers saying violence is not the answer. Basically, she says, effing kill them all, kill them all. What was the result of that? You know, you might think that's just almost as bad as what Lucy Connolly posted. Is she going to go to jail? Was she arrested? Is she going to get fined? Is she going to get a caution? No. The Kent police went round to her house, had a little word with her, said, you know, take that post down and, you know, just don't do that again. And they concluded that no crime had been committed. Well, why didn't they conclude with Lucy Connolly that no crime had been committed? Why was Graham Linehan arrested for allegedly inciting violence? You know, when all he said was punch him in the balls. It was light-hearted, it was a joke. And yet this woman says, effing kill them all. And all she gets is a visit from the cops saying, oh, come on, Charlotte, take it down. You know, there you go. No crime has been... It's a classic two-tier policing. Looks to me like woke coppers. They'll come down on right-wingers like a ton of bricks, but if you're left-wing, they'll let you off. Let's talk to, from the Free Speech Union, Connie Shaw. Hello, Connie.
Hi, Kevin.
I'm right here, aren't I? I mean, why have the police... They investigated this, they went to her house, they concluded that no crime had been committed. Well, she's saying kill them all. If Lucy Connolly's going to go to jail for similarly, if you like, she didn't say kill them, she just said it was accused of inciting violence. If Graham Linehan's going to be arrested for inciting violence for just saying punch pretend men in the balls, why is this woman being let off, do you think? It's two-tier policing, isn't it?
Well, the perception certainly is that there's a two-tier justice system, and I think that the public can't be blamed for having that perception. But I think the difference here, and there are often these direct comparisons made between two different cases, whether it's Charlotte Haynes in this case and Graham Linehan or Lucy Connolly. But the difference with Graham Linehan and Lucy Connolly is that both Lucy and Graham were arrested on suspicion of stirring up hatred on the basis of a characteristic. There are 3 characteristics that you can stir up hatred on in England, and that is sexual orientation, religious, and racial, whereas Charlotte Haynes was not talking about people from any of those 3 groups. So there is an issue here with our legislation, and that's why, one of the reasons why Kemi Badenoch's appointed Toby Young to do this policy review. That doesn't mean that people should be going to prison for things that Charlotte said. I think that none of these people should be going to prison. And actually, the fact that the police decided that it wasn't a criminal matter raises questions about why they went to Charlotte's house in the first place. If you compare it to our member, Deborah Anderson, who you saw recently in that video that went viral on
the American lady in Thames Valley, yes, of course.
Yeah. How the policeman came round and she asked him, is this a criminal offence? Have I broken the law? Am I being arrested? To which he said no. And so if the police know that it's not a crime, they've seen what Deborah has posted on the internet, they saw what Charlotte's video was, but they're still going to people's houses. Look, I completely accept what Charlotte said was disgusting. I think the left are a laughing stock when it comes to these things. They seriously believe that words are violence to the point where they think actual violence is the response. I completely accept that. I still don't think the police should have any business in going around to people's houses for things that are not criminal matters. The police should not be going around to people's houses to tell them to delete posts or to tell them to apologise to people. Deborah Anderson was told that if she didn't apologise to the person who had complained about being upset by something she had posted, then she would be taken for interview. We don't know what happened in the conversation between the police and Charlotte Haynes, but there's, you know, she may well have had the same message from the police, and she deleted the post.
It could well be, though, Connie, that clearly somebody did complain about what Charlotte Hayes posted, and as you say, they've gone round to say, "Oh, you shouldn't really do that." Well, she wasn't told to apologise to anyone, though.
Well, I don't know what went on during.
Well, the police don't say anything about telling her to apologise. They say that they advised her to take it down, and they had a little word with her.
Of course, and that would have been that is very similar to the conversation that Deborah had. Obviously, we know exactly what happened in the conversation that Deborah had with the police officer because she filmed all 6 minutes of it. We don't know whether the police would have come out and said that they told Deborah to apologise. I mean, there were various things that police officer said, was caught saying on video, which I have a feeling that Thames Valley Police would not want to say out loud because it's so embarrassing for them. So we don't know really the full extent of what the police said to Charlotte in this case, but the point is, no police should be going around to people's houses for things that are not criminal matters. 75% of burglaries go unsolved in this country. 1 in 5 shoplifting offences are attended to. I know that it's horrible when people say things like this. I understand the emotion. I felt just as disgusted, I'm sure, as the next person did when they saw what this woman, Charlotte Haynes, said. But I do not think it's the matter for the police. The police got the decision right this time. I still don't think they should be going to her house, but the question is, why are they not getting it right every time? I think there is something to be said about the way that the police have been captured by certain organisations such as Stonewall, which does, in my opinion, help in getting people like Graham Linehan arrested. But the other thing, that there are issues with our legislation. Again, Charlotte Haynes was not, you couldn't possibly say that she was trying to stir up hatred on the basis of those 3 characteristics.
Name those characteristics again, Connie, please.
So you can stir hatred up on the basis of sexual orientation, religious hatred, or racial. So none of those 3 categories could be used in Charlotte's case. But again, going back to Graham, the police tried to use sexual orientation as a reason that they arrested him, even though he was talking about men in women's toilets. In Scotland, it's an offence to stir up hatred on the basis of a trans status, so they may have got a bit confused about that. But clearly the police do not understand the law. That's one of the reasons why we're suing the Met Police for the wrongful arrest of Graham Linehan, and also potentially defamation, because they said that originally they said that he incited violence. That's not a crime. There's encouraging violent disorder, but inciting violence is not a phrase used in the statutory books here. So the police are getting very confused, but to make it clear, Charlotte's case, what Charlotte Haynes said could not have been considered to be breaking a law in the way that what Graham said or what Lucy said. I don't think we should have hate laws in this country. This is the issue with hate laws, is that it's so subjective, and that's why Toby's review is going to be absolutely crucial to getting these things nailed down, so we stop having this absolutely ludicrous situation where the perception to the public feels as though, and I do understand it, that it depends on your political views as to whether the police decide to take action. That's not the truth the entire time, but I can completely understand why it feels that way, and that's why Toby's review will be very important.
I agree with that, and I also agree. I can't stand hate laws. I hate hate crimes. I just think they're a serious infringement on free speech. But there is a disparity. There is a difference, isn't there, between the way Deborah Anderson was treated the video came out last week, and the way that Charlotte Hayes has been treated here, insofar as there must have been a complaint. There must have been a complaint about her kill them all TikTok post. They haven't asked her to apologise to anyone. They just said investigators examined the content and concluded no offences were committed. The person who posted the video was visited by officers and received words of advice. They subsequently deleted the post. So why is it? Well, they're saying that. Why was Deborah told to apologise and Charlotte wasn't?
We don't know that Charlotte wasn't told to apologise. She may well have been told to apologise to a specific person that made the complaint. We only know exactly what was said to Deborah because of the video. Neither of them should have been told to apologise. It is not the police's job to go around telling us to apologise to one another.
And I mean, will Toby, do you think, recommend that you should be able to say on Twitter or TikTok, kill them all? Effing kill them all, kill them all?
I imagine what Toby will recommend is that we need something like the First Amendment in this country. Yeah. And under the First Amendment in the US, something can only be considered to be inciting violence if the speech is proven to both be intended to and likely to cause imminent lawless action. And it has to fulfill both strands. It has to be both intended to and likely to cause unlawful action. So in order for that, for any speech to be considered inciting to violence, is a very narrow category. Yeah. So in some situations, it will be the case in America, and the origins of that case, Brandenburg versus Ohio, is a really disturbing case of a KKK group or a white supremacist group. I don't know whether they were connected to the Ku Klux Klan necessarily, but a white supremacist group marching through an area calling for what can be perceived as acts of violence towards certain minorities. But it was ruled that was a right that they were granted from the First Amendment because they were found to not be intending to and likely to be causing imminent unlawful action. So it will mean that people say horrible things, as in people always say horrible things. But I think that people think that if people are suddenly allowed to say horrible things, that suddenly loads more will be said. I think most people are good people. It just means that people like Lucy Conley and people like Charlotte Haynes will not be being locked up because they shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the sort of the overall impression that people have, including me. And I agree with all the points you've made, by the way, Connie, but the overall impression that we have is that the police, in so many instances, seem to have turned themselves into the kind of wokery enforcement squad. There is a difference, there's definitely a difference between the way a lot of coppers treat left-wing people and a lot of coppers treat right-wing people. I think that's at the essence of the problem that we've got here. Graham Linehan, by any sensible standards, didn't do anything wrong. You know, is it really inciting violence to say, oh, if some bloke walks into a woman's changing room, punch them in the balls? It was like a joke. But there's no common sense in the way the police approached him. Had he have been some left-winger, then I suspect the police's approach would be different. There is a problem with the way the police approach both sides of the political divide. Would you accept that?
Oh, absolutely, Kevin. I think specifically as well, a very good example of this is the trans issue. If you look at the amount of death threats, rape threats that gender-critical women receive, if you go to any trans pride march, and I invite you to look around at the placards being held by these so-called protesters, say, for example, some absolute classics: the only good turf is a dead turf, decapitate turfs, every time you punch a turf, trans kids get more rights. They're all ones that I have seen, and I know that gender-critical people report these to the police and nothing is done the majority of the time. But there seems to be a very powerful group of some trans activists who seem to have the police in the palm of their hand. It's known that there's a certain figure called Lindsay Watson, a disgraced...
Oh, I know her, yeah, the former copper, yeah.
Who threatens judicial review against...
I say I know her, I know him, I meant.
Him for not taking action against people he alleges to have committed a crime against him. Yeah. And he's an ex-police copper. He knows how the system works. Yeah. And so it seems that there are certain people within the trans movement who are really using it to go after people that they disagree with. And it seems the police often just toe in line with them. And it's outrageous. And there needs to be a serious shake-up of the way that the police officers are trained. They've just got their priorities wrong.
I agree.
The idea that we saw on video a police officer in a poor woman's house telling her that it was his job today not to look after people who have been murdered, or obviously they're dead, or go after people who have murdered someone, or to care for people who have been raped or solve rapes, or go after people who have burgled people's houses. Today his job was to come round and tell her to apologise to someone that she'd upset on Facebook.
Absolutely. But what worries me about people like him is that he has no idea what his job is, because he's grown up in a kind of new kind of police force, which seems to be getting everything wrong. Connie, got to go, but really good to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. Connie Shaw there from the Free Speech Union. When we come back, we're going to talk to one of the campaigners who have actually failed to stop a mega mosque being built near the Lake District. That next. Stay tuned.
I mentioned the Singaporean model, right? They review it every 5 years. You've got to actually be able to bring benefits. You've got to be able to prove that you can integrate. I think actually you walk around your home, Julia, in London, and I imagine that you'll find many people not too far away from where you are that simply do not integrate within British life.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, we cannot have the social cohesion that we have been so used to for so very long if we actually allow this to continue.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Up near the Lake District, a place called Dalton-in-Furness, the locals have been campaigning long and hard in an impassioned campaign to prevent the construction of what they call a mega mosque, a giant Islamic worship centre. They say, well, there's no need for this because less than 1% of this area, the people here, are actually Muslim and 50% are Christians, and that they feel it's unfair that the people of the community have this huge mosque foisted upon them, and yet their campaign has failed. Well, let's go straight over to one of the campaigners. She's a local resident, Donna Hill. Donna, I'm sorry that you've lost this case. Westmoreland and Furness Council, your local council, said, we support people's right to practice their religion free from harassment and abuse, noting that the prayer centre has followed all necessary procedures to gain planning permission. How big will this mosque be, Donna?
Well, it's three floors with a roof garden as well. It's absolutely massive. There's just no need for it. Like you said, there's a very small Muslim population in the area. We just doesn't warrant a building of that size. And it's also the traffic congestion. It's a very busy road. I believe there's only 11 parking spaces for the mosque.
How many worshippers do you think will converge on this mega mosque?
Locally, I believe I'm not sure how many will use it. No locals really.
But what's the capacity of it? Hundreds?
250.
250. So
yes,
it's a mosque. It's a mosque for 250 people.
Yes.
And it's only got 11 parking spaces.
11 parking spaces.
So
yeah.
How much will it cost? You know?
Sorry, I'm saying it's across the road from a school as well. So it's a very busy road.
Yeah. Yeah.
The highways agency, you know, it's just going to cause so much more traffic. I believe children's SEN school was refused just before this was approved as well, due to traffic congestion and noise as well, noise pollution, believe it or not. Yeah.
So 250 people, we're just looking at a huge picture of it here. Is it, oh my God, it's a very sort of rural area, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
And what do you say, Donna, to people? I know that some people have objected and said that your campaign is racist, you know, it's anti-Islamophobic and so on and so forth. What's your answer to those criticisms?
It's nothing to do with, none of us are racist, it's the location, and just the size of the building. It's an absolute eyesore. As you can see, it's hideous. It's so out of place.
And the council, you presumably have been campaigning for this, against this for some time.
Yeah.
The council have just essentially just ignored you.
Yeah, it's all been done very quietly without residents having, you know, really knowing anything about it. I think it was first passed in 2022 during lockdown, and it seems to have just been. They just seem to be adding things, but without anyone knowing about it. Local residents were really unaware until it started being built.
And are you still? I mean, have you given up hope, or are you still?
No, we've appointed a barrister now who's looking into the plans, because we do believe there's been a lot of corruption along the way with the plans, and also he's looking into the highways and seeing about the safety of it as well.
But it is a powerful argument that you say this constituency where you live, Dalton-in-Furness, 1% of the population are Muslim.
Yeah.
So why would they require this enormous mosque?
I don't know. We've got no idea. Maybe they're planning, I don't know, planning on moving people in the area. That's what, you know, the locals are thinking. It just doesn't warrant a building of that size for the area.
Yeah. Well, listen, Donna, we'll stay in touch with you, and we'll keep us posted with how your campaign goes. And well, I wish you luck, and it was really good to talk to you. Thank you. Thanks so much, Donna. Thank you, Donna Hill, there, local resident. What do you make of that? Huge. You see the size of that thing? Right in the middle of that country area, near the Lake District. Hardly any Muslims live in the area. Why is that being nodded through in the face of all the objections from the local population? Look at it, massive thing. They don't want it there. It's strange, isn't it? Strange. Let me know what you think. 0344, look at that thing, if you're watching on TV. Whoa. 0344 499 1000. And when we come back, We're going to talk to Errol Musk, Elon Musk's father, who in the New York Times has done an investigation and has laid some very serious accusations against him that he sexually abused 3 of his children and 2 of his grandchildren. Elon Musk was not involved in this. Obviously, Errol denies this, but we need to talk to him. We'll talk to him next after this break.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, my next guest, I know him. I've sat down with him. We had a very interesting, very full and frank interview we did for YouTube. He's been on this show several times. Always enjoyed his company. But he now finds himself, he stands accused of some very serious offences. In fact, the New York Times, we're going to be talking to Errol Musk in just a second. He's the 79-year-old father of tech billionaire, of course, the richest man in the world, Elon Musk. The New York Times is reporting that he stands accused of sexually abusing 5 of his children and stepchildren since 1993. The New York Times suggests this is why Elon Musk allegedly doesn't talk to his father. Let's get Errol Musk on right now. It's good of him to come on under the circumstances. Errol, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Well, you must have been shocked to see this in the New York Times. Presumably they contacted you. They say this is a full investigation. What did you tell them when they contacted you?
Well, they contacted me about 10 days ago, a week ago, maybe a little over a week ago, and they came up with this, and I said, well, it's nonsense. And I said, well, you can put it to me in writing, and I'll reply to it, And so they did, and then I replied to it, and then they've now gone ahead with this thing in a completely different direction, what can I say? All I can say is, the fact of the matter was, like 32 years ago, Bart, I was married to a younger woman. She had 3 small children. I just got married. I've been a bachelor for 10 years. She was in and out of clinics and hospital and stuff. She had a few problems. It was difficult. And I found myself as like a mother and father a lot of the time doing the job. And I wasn't quite sure where my job started and where it ended. But anyway, I found myself, you know, being accused of stuff that I had no idea what they were talking about. But finally, eventually we split up. I left them. I had another home. I went to my other home and I said, look, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. Anyway, it wound up in court. And the judge was a woman, and the family court, and I told her what happened, and a doctor said that 99 out of 100 fathers would have done the same as me. And the child psychologist said that I was like the rock in the children's family and all this sort of stuff. And the judge then threw this whole thing out. It was a woman judge. She threw the whole thing out. But she didn't leave it there. She said that under the circumstances, my 4-year-old daughter, our 4-year-old daughter at that time, cannot stay with her mother. She has to be taken from her mother and put in my custody.
Errol, just to interrupt for a second, the New York Times says that in the past, this dates back to allegations made since 1993, that 3 separate law enforcement investigations were opened.
No, I know nothing about those. There's nothing. I don't know anything about it. You know, the strange thing is that I didn't know. I asked them who's making these allegations, and they wouldn't tell me. So then I saw the article for the first time this afternoon, and I see it's my ex-wife's sister. But the strange thing is that this ex-wife, this woman, invited me and Yana and the children to have Christmas with her last year. And we went to have Christmas dinner with her. You know, this is, why now come up with something like this? You know, I mean, this is what I couldn't understand. You know, Yana has told them as well that this, told the New York Times, this is absolute nonsense.
Well, they do, as I say, they do say that 3 separate law enforcement investigations were opened, and that 2 of these inquiries ended without action. That's significant. And then it goes on to say, while it is unclear what happened to the 3rd investigation. These were all presumably some time ago. If you were investigated, you said you don't know anything about this, but if you were investigated and never prosecuted, this newspaper is making very, very serious allegations against you. I mean, will you take legal action against the New York Times?
Well, I have been, you know, sort of advised not to complicate things by, but I said I'd go on the show tonight because I like talkTV. And, so to just not complicate things, I would just say that, as I said earlier, you know, 32 years ago, I was married to a young woman with 3 children, one or two in nappies. I mean, it was very difficult. I mean, I was in a whole new scene. I didn't know where my job started, where it ended, but I was suddenly accused of being improper. But when it was heard in court, the judge said, no, I did what 99 out of 100 fathers would do, or rather a doctor told the court that. And then a psychologist, professor of the university, said that, in fact, he has interviewed the children and I'm the rock in the family. So the judge threw it out. And that was the end of it. Oh, and finally, and the joke of it all is that my wife and I had separated because of that. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, she contacted me and said, can she come home? So I said, well, all right. Our daughter was with me then. And I said, sure, come home, by all means. And she came home and we were together for the next 8 years. And we had our 2nd child.
And do you think that possibly at the bottom of all of this, whoever's making these allegations, might, in your view, this be something of a shakedown to get at, I don't know, your son's money, Elon, via you?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, they've been trying to do that for years now. They've been trying to get money, yes, that's true. You know, everybody knows that. All the kids in the family know that. Everybody knows that. Elon knows that. Everybody knows that. They've been trying to squeeze money out of my sons.
Well, it says here, Errol, that the newspaper cites personal letters, emails and interview with family members. And then it goes on to say that you have at least 9 children and stepchildren, and you've been married to 3 women. How many kids and stepchildren do you have? It says at least 9.
Well, you know, with the stepchildren, I suppose you could say then it's 9 children. Yes.
Okay.
That would be right.
Okay. So that's about right. But just to, I know you're in a slightly difficult position, and I very much appreciate you coming on under the circumstances. But as I say, surely you cannot let these allegations just ride. You can't let this newspaper say this if you didn't do these things.
Yes, no, I didn't do these things, and I never heard of any of these other allegations. But at any rate, I have contacted my sons, and I've asked them what they think we should do. I don't think much of the New York Times. It's not thought of very highly. I've had, by people, it seems to me, I've had many messages sent to me that nobody takes the New York Times seriously about anything.
Well, I mean, but they do, Errol, and you've got to be careful.
Yeah, so,
have you heard back from?
I would take advice from what my sons think. You know, if we should do something about it.
Have you heard from Elon about this?
No, I only heard about this article a couple of hours ago, about 4 hours ago. So I haven't. I have messaged overseas and said to them, you know, what should we do here? I don't like to overload them with stuff like this.
But presumably you will consult lawyers, will you?
Well, yes, obviously, as the next few days transpire, then I have time to think about it. You know. Yeah, you've literally. I'm not a vengeful person. I'm not a vengeful person. You know, apology would be good for me. I don't mind, but I'm not a vengeful person. So I'll have to see what. But you know what comes.
Needless to say, on the basis you didn't do this, you must be very shocked that the New York Times. You must be shocked that the New York Times has run such a story.
I am, because they asked me questions and I answered the questions, but they completely ignored my answers. So they completely ignored my answers. Completely ignored my answers, and went with stuff that is simply hearsay or whatever you call it. I mean, with no substance to it whatsoever, you know. And the thing that hurts me, of course, I love my children. There's no way I'm going to do anything to all my children. I mean, it's crazy. And, you know, but I don't know, you know, I don't know what to say except, you know, we'll just see what the next few days brings, and then we'll take it from there.
All right, well, we'll keep in touch, Errol. Again, under the circumstances, I very much appreciate you coming on, and perhaps we'll talk again soon. Thank you very much, Errol. Take care. Errol Musk there, father of Elon Musk, very serious charges, accusations, allegations, run prominently in today's New York Times, saying that he sexually abused 5 of his children and stepchildren, has been doing that since 1993. You heard him there, absolutely denying it, saying he knows nothing about it, does not know about investigations into him in the past on such matters. So we'll try to keep in touch with that extraordinary story. But Elon Musk's father, charged or accused in the New York Times of sexually abusing 5 of his children and stepchildren. Elon Musk was not one of them. It's important to stress that. He's just saying he's been in touch with his sons. He's got 2 sons, of course, Errol and his brother, and he hasn't heard from Elon. So we'll try to keep you updated with that extraordinary story. Next up, we're going to go across to France and find out all about Bridget Macron and her ongoing legal battle to prove she's a woman. That next, stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Let's go straight over to the Spectator's excellent man in France, Gavin Mortimer. Hello, Gavin.
Evening, Kevin. How are you?
I'm very, very well. I want to talk a little bit about Macron in just a bit because he, of course, has joined Starmer in recognising Palestine. He's also had a bit of trouble crossing the road in Manhattan. We'll talk about that in just a little while. But first, Bridget Macron. She's had this long-running what some people call conspiracy theory surrounding her, that she was born a male, that she's a biological male who changed her gender. She, of course, denies this. Macron denies it. Most of the French press seem to say it's absolutely absurd. It's a big lie. Candace Owens, the big-time podcaster in America, recently did a whole series on it on YouTube, in which she said in no uncertain terms, I forget the details, it's something like Bridget was her brother, and it's all a very murky story. Now, Bridget's very upset by this, and she's suing Candace Owens in America, for defamation, liable. You can't say if she's a woman and you say she's not a woman, that's a serious defamation. Now, she's offering up, I've got these pictures, photographs, definitive proof that I'm a woman. Well, Candace Owens is saying, well, if you're a biological woman, what's the problem? Do a chromosome test. Why don't you just do that? That would chemically or biologically prove once and for all whether you're a bloke or a woman, a guy or a woman. But all Brigitte seems to be offering up are photographs. Why do you think it is? We don't know whether or not she may agree to this test. It's very likely that in America they'll make her do it if she wants to pursue this action. But why say, here's some photographs? Why not just say, I'll take a biological test?
Why not just follow the late Queen's advice, never complain, never explain? Personally, I think it's a ridiculous argument that she's a woman, she's got 3 children, but she's got herself into this extraordinary situation when the First Lady of France is now involved with a fairly inconsequential podcaster, certainly from a French point of view, on the other side of the Atlantic. It's an absurd situation. She should have ignored it from the start. But the Macrons, Kevin, have got a history of taking legal action. About 3 years ago, I think it was an artist hung a billboard on the side of the road depicting Macron as a tyrant, and he took legal action against that. And they seem a very petty couple. For a man who likes to strut around the world stage, as we've seen in New York this week, he's got a remarkably thin skin, and as has his wife. And they should have ignored it from the start, and they should ignore it now. But it's just become an ugly and really undignified spat.
I agree with that. But again, I've got to come back to this basic point. It's very. Never mind. I've got these pictures. And I've got my story. Obviously, I'm a woman. You just say, take a test. I'll take a test. Why won't she do that? It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, one would have thought so. If she's willing to start talking about handing over photos, then why not? As you said, why not take the test? And they've just been badly advised from the start. Who on earth in the Elysee Palace said this is a good idea to engage with this American podcaster? And it's just, I'm afraid, Kevin, another example of the increasingly erratic behaviour that we're seeing from the Macrons. You remember, I think we talked about it a few months ago on the show when I think it was at Thailand airport, wasn't it? And the presidential...
Oh yeah, when they had that punch up.
The doors open, and there was a man getting a smack from Bridget.
Yeah.
And I have to say, it wasn't a very manly spat.
That's true. You're right. She should she should offer that footage up as evidence. That's a female slap.
I think we've solved the problem, Kevin.
I'll tell you what, though, Gavin, seriously, if she pursues this in America, Candace Owens is saying, I will demand she takes a biological test, and she will have to. So she'll either do it or she doesn't, and if she doesn't, the conspiracy theory will go into overdrive. Interesting case. Let's move on quickly. We've got a little bit of time, Gavin. Obviously, your president, France's president, Macron, is currently with the great and the good in New York at the United Nations, and was on his way to the United Nations, and he couldn't get across the road because the Trump entourage, the Trump cavalcade, was trundling through the streets of New York, and a copper stopped him and apparently said, well, we'll play the video in a second. I'm really sorry, Mr. President, but you're going to have to wait for, you know, the American president. And you know, it struck me, classic Macron. Hey, you little copper, I'm going to phone your president. Anyway, let's have a look at the video before we discuss this.
I have 10 people with me. So I go to the French embassy.
No. I'm sorry, President, I'm really sorry. It's just that everything's in frozen right now. There's a border gate coming right. That's why.
Oh, sorry. If you don't see it, let me cross. I negotiate with you.
No, it's not that.
How are you? Guess what? I'm waiting the street because everything is frozen for you. But I would love if we can. Yeah, I know. I will follow. But you know, after I would love if we can have a short discussion with Qatar and you from the situation in Gaza, because we were.
So, Gavin, there are presidents and there are presidents.
It's a metaphor. That's a metaphor for Macron's presidency, that he's blocked. He's blocked in the streets of New York, and he's blocked in France from carrying out any meaningful reforms. And again, the French have been chuckling merrily about this, because it just does sum up Macron, that he can't even get across one side of the street to the other these days. So hapless is he. And yet it's strange. It's strange, Kevin, I find, that then he allows himself to be filmed chatting to Donald as though they're best pals, when they can't agree on any of the profound challenges facing the world today, as we saw in New York in the last couple of days. They're so diametrically opposed, and it's almost as if it was stage managed, that bit with Donald. He wanted people to think that, yeah, I've got the ear of the president.
Yeah,
hey,
exactly
let's talk about Qatar. It's just and everything about Macron is so sort of polished.
But he was showing off. I mean, let's give the whole situation the benefit of the doubt and say somebody was just filming on their phone. That's what happens these days. So what window into Macron's personality? He's showing off to the cop. Oh, you won't let me cross the road? Right, I'm going to phone your president.
Absolutely, it's the typical little man syndrome, and having a tantrum, which of course is what he did in June last year when Marine Le Pen's party did so well in the European elections. He had a tantrum that evening, called this snap election, and ever since France has been
in a tailspin. Yeah. And just quickly, Gavin, before you go, of course, Macron has joined Keir Starmer in recognising Palestine. Starmer gets out of it, he thinks, the Muslim vote. 4 million Muslims live in Britain, and he wants their vote because he needs it at the next election. So that's his craven reason for rewarding terrorism, for rewarding Hamas by recognising Palestine. What does Macron get out of it apart from virtue signalling?
Well, there's virtual signalling, and there's also the fact that in France there was somewhere, no one's quite sure, but estimated to be between 6 to 8 million Muslims in France. In recent years, there's been some serious riots in the inner cities, and Macron, from the start of this crisis, is terrified of antagonising the banlieues, the suburbs. And he didn't attend a rally in support of France's 500,000 Jewish community in November 2023, despite the surge in anti-Semitism, allegedly because a Muslim advisor said, if you do that, Mr. President, the suburbs could rise up in fury. He's terrified of that, and that's why he's adopting the policy. So both Macron and Starmer, a couple of appeasers.
Yeah, so it's just for cynical domestic reasons. That's why
Absolutely.
he's done it, yeah. Gavin, it's fantastic to talk to you as always, and we will follow that Bridget Macron case very closely. It's going to be interesting over the next couple of months. Good to talk to you, mate. Gavin Mortimer there, the Spectator's man over in France. That's a funny story, isn't it? I mean, Bridget Macron, let me know what you think. Why doesn't she just take a biological test? It's easy enough to prove whether or not someone is male or female. Everyone's going, oh, it's a lie, total lie. Take a test. Don't just say, here's some photographs. Take a test. She'll have to if she pursues this case in America anyway. Fascinating case that is. We'll follow it closely. Next up, we're going to talk about Fergie, money and the royal family. So stick around. That next. Stay tuned.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, we're going to talk about Fergie. Well, by the way, in 20 minutes or so, we're going to be taking your calls, 03444991000. Donald Trump's take on Europe. We're destroying ourselves with migration and our crazy eco policies, particularly Britain. What do you make of that? He says, of course, he hates Sadiq Khan, says we've got a terrible mayor, and that asylum seekers are repaying British kindness with crime, and that they want Sharia law. 03444991000. And that migrant, that asylum seeker in Epping, 2 sexual assaults, found guilty of both. He got a year, 1 year, 12 months. He'll be out in about 3 months because he's already been inside since July. Do you think that's too light a sentence? I do. Let me know what you think. 03444991000. Now, let's talk about Fergie. Obviously, she's in a world of trouble. She told 2 stories. She told the public that she was mortified by her connection to Jeffrey Epstein, by her friendship. She was friends with him as well as her husband, former husband, Prince Andrew, of course. At one point, Epstein paid off I think it was a £15,000 debt that she had to a former employee. She couldn't afford it. Epstein helped her out. Now, she then gave an interview when Epstein fell from grace, as it were, saying, oh, it was a terrible error of judgment on my part, really bad error of judgment. I wish I'd never met him, blah, 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 I'm going to pay back that money. It was terrible. And we learned at the weekend that while she was saying that, she was also writing an email to Jeffrey Epstein, or several emails, saying, oh, you're a supreme friend, I'm so sorry I had to do this, and in other words, it was complete hypocrisy, complete lies, telling the public one thing, and in private maintaining her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. One suspects, because even though he was a convicted paedophile, he's got a lot of money. And Fergie and Andrew, they like people with lots of money so they can leech it off them. The Duchess of York, in the past 2 days since this story emerged of her shocking duplicity, has been sacked by 7 children's charities, because of course they all said it's completely inappropriate to have this woman, the Duchess of York, Fergie, as our patron. We're a children's charity. She maintained a close friendship with a convicted paedophile. Let's talk to a man who knows a little bit about the royals and money, former Cabinet Minister Norman Baker. Welcome, Norman.
Kevin, good evening to you.
First of all, tell us about, remind us of your excellent book about the royals and money, because it's a murky area. What was it called?
It was called And What Do You Do? I use the accent advisedly, because that's what the Queen used to always ask everybody else.
Yeah.
We should ask them what they do, particularly with our money. In fact, we've got a follow-up coming up next month, that has to be said, on finances, called Royal Mint National Debt, which goes into this in even more detail.
Now, the thing about royal families, the thing about monarchies is the people of various countries, including Britain, history proves that subjects of royal families will let them get away with sexual shenanigans, all sorts of bad behaviour. When it goes wrong for royal families is when the people of the countries they rule begin to perceive that they're dodgy with money, that they're greedy. And I'm beginning to feel that Fergie, Andrew and certain other members of the royal family could be getting our monarchy into trouble. I mean, I know that Andrew and Fergie are outriders, but that their behaviour around money for many years now has been absolutely atrocious. This recent Epstein scandal involving Fergie being the sort of the peak of the mountain, if you will. They've been terrible, haven't they?
They have. I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, actually, because I think the royals are more vulnerable on finance than on anything else. And I think the combination of arrogance, actually, and a sense of entitlement, together with exclusions from the Freedom of Information Act, means that they think they can get away with it. And actually they can't, because, you know, the truth has a habit of emerging, sometimes in different areas, sometimes unexpectedly, as this one has, but it does come out. And, you know, as far as Fergie's concerned, I mean, she's got form on this. Let's remember, she was caught trying to sell access to Andrew for, I think, £500,000, incredibly, caught by the fake sheikh trying to do so. She borrowed this money from Epstein. She said, by the way, afterwards, she was going to pay it back. I don't think she ever did. When she was asked in 2015 if she'd paid it back, there was no answer forthcoming.
Yeah.
So I don't think she ever paid it back. So, you know, she says one thing that sounds right to the public. Oh, I think he's a terrible man. I've made a mistake. I'll pay the money back. And the reality behind the scenes is completely different. But, you know, let's be quite clear. Andrew and Fergie were thick as thieves with Epstein. And that's coming out more and more. And actually, Epstein is doing a lot of damage from beyond the grave, because I think as more and more information comes out, more and more public figures are going to be caught by this.
Yeah, she called. She sent Epstein an email in 2011 in which she called him her supreme friend, and she wanted to humbly apologise for publicly rejecting him. And she said, "I know, Jeffrey, that you will feel hellaciously let down by me."
She wants her cake and eat it. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly right. Meanwhile, it was just a few weeks before that, she denounced him in an interview, saying it had been a gigantic error of judgment to have had dealings with him, and vowed to have nothing ever to do with Jeffrey Epstein ever again, which of course she broke that. And then when she also, in these fawning emails, she said, "Oh, I never used the P word about you, paedophile." Well, you could have done, Sarah, because he was a convicted paedophile. Now, there's another element I want to talk about, Norman, right now. She said, Fergie is putting forward now, always blaming other people, not really my fault, you know. She says, "Oh, well, the reason I had to write him this fawning email was because he was threatening me with a defamation lawsuit. He was threatening to sue me for libel." Now, I don't know what kind of legal advice Fergie was getting in those days, but this was 2011. In 2008, Jeffrey Epstein was convicted of soliciting a minor, a paedophile child sex abuse conviction. You'll know this, Norman, because of your immense knowledge of these matters, legal matters, that is, of course. Look, a convicted paedophile can't sue anyone for defamation, nor can a murderer, nor can a rapist. You know, so her saying, "Oh, well, he was going to sue me for libel," it doesn't so much stretch the imagination. It's a lie, isn't it?
Well, it's probably a lie, but if it's not a lie, even if he did say that, I'd say to Fergie, OK, let's publish his email. If you've got an email from him saying that, why don't you publish it and clear yourself? But nothing like that will ever appear, because I don't think such an email exists. But, you know, the hypocrisy here reminds me of the hypocrisy a couple of weeks ago, was it not, with Peter Mandelson, because he was supposed to be saying, "Oh, I made a terrible mistake," and then it turned out he called him his best pal. You know, this is what is happening. People are trying to have their cake and eat it, trying to be nice to Epstein for financial or other reasons behind the scenes, at the same time as trying to maintain a public image which is contrary to that. And we know from Andrew, we know from the papers quite recently, that Andrew, despite what he said in that car crash interview with Emily Maitlis on the BBC, was maintaining contact with Epstein long after he said he'd broken it off.
Well, yeah, exactly right. And that's what I said about Mandelson. Peter Mandelson is Westminster's answer to Prince Andrew. Their relationship with Epstein has extremely close parallels. That Epstein gets done for paedophilia, for child sex abuse, and both Prince Andrew and, of course, Fergie, we now know, and Mandelson maintained their friendships afterwards and wrote them letters saying, "Oh, it's terrible, you poor thing." You know, that was Mandelson. Similar from Fergie. These people, there's something about people like Mandelson, Prince Andrew, and Fergie. They're the kind of people who never met a billionaire they didn't want to hang around with, if you catch my drift.
That's exactly right. I mean, I don't quite know what Mandelson's angle was, but as far as Andrew and Fergie are concerned, I've no doubt the motivation there was money. Look, I mean, at one point, Fergie was £4 million in debt at the bank. She had to try and clear the debt somehow. 15,000 Epstein, by the way, but have gone nowhere very far in dealing with that particular matter. But, you know, Fergie is like a colander. You pour money in one end and it comes out the other. She doesn't even be capable of maintaining a sensible bank balance.
Generally speaking, as I say, you wrote this book about the royals and their money. Now, I was reading an article yesterday by A.N. Wilson in the Mail, where he's lambasting Fergie and all this. And he went on, in the middle of this article, or towards the end, I read something that perhaps you know about, but it rather shocked me, and he described this as inappropriate. That apparently the king, Highgrove, his beloved country home with his gardens and everything like that, while the queen was still alive, and obviously on her way out, as it were, the king organised the Duchy of Cornwall to buy Highgrove so that he could rent it and therefore retain Highgrove as a residence after he became the sovereign, because it might have been difficult with all of his official residences to maintain a private residence as well in terms of possession. But what I was thinking about that, well, it all sounds a bit odd in the first place, but I mean, how much did the Duchy of Cornwall buy Highgrove for? Did the king, in this instance, make himself, I don't know, £10 million, £15 million?
Well, I mean, first of all, Charles isn't short of properties. He wasn't short of properties as Prince of Wales. For example, he got the Castle of May up in Scotland from the Queen Mother. He's got properties all over the place. And the book I've got coming out shortly has a whole chapter on royal properties, which is just horrendously extensive. And I mean, how many palaces does someone need? You know, is a question there. But I mean, in terms of the Highgrove, my understanding is that the duchy bought it from Charles's instigation. Charles then rented it, paid the money to the duchy, and then the money came back to him through another channel. So it was a kind of circular transaction which took place. And of course, Charles, although he says the duchy is a private estate, which I think is totally wrong, by the way, I think it should belong to the public. He calls it a private estate. But it doesn't pay any capital gains tax and no corporation tax. So no tax was deducted in this circular financial transaction.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know the details of this. I was just quite stunned to read this. And I mean, I don't know, perhaps the actual purchase was for a peppercorn amount. I don't know.
I don't think so. No.
Well, look. If he managed to score himself 10 million quid or something for this, you know, I think we should be told.
Well, we should be told. I mean, the duchy's finances are very opaque, to say the least. There is a requirement for the Duchy of Cornwall and Duchy of Lancaster to report to the Treasury what they're doing. But there's never a debate in Parliament about this. There's never a proper examination of what's going on there. The Public Accounts Committee tried in 2006, I think, under Margaret Hodge, to get somewhere with this, but it was blocked all the way down the line by royal flunkies not answering questions. And the whole thing with the duchies is quite wrong. You know, they were historical anachronisms, which in 1760, along with the rest of the royal lands, should have been handed to the public purse as the Crown Estate was at that particular point. The only reason they weren't is because we're basically worthless at that point. But the royals have been squatting on these estates ever since. But really, they ought to belong to the public. And it's time the duchies were round up into the Crown Estate, and the public got the benefit. You know, Charles is getting 25 million or thereabouts each year for the Duchy of Lancaster for doing nothing. William's now getting about the same amount of money for the Duchy of Cornwall for doing nothing. These are huge pay packets that should be going into the Treasury.
Well, yeah, indeed. And in terms of Fergie, I mean, you know, she's been fired from 7 charities. I don't know if she's a patron of many more. She can't be that many more charities that had her on board. But, you know, we know her background. You remember the toe sucking, the affair she had with Johnny Bryan while she was still married to Prince Andrew. And, of course, she was caught in that News of the World sting. Thinking she was taking, I think it was £500,000 quid.
£500,000.
Yeah, in order to organise access to the royal family. He's essentially selling the royals down the river. And she seemed to sort of lurch from scandal to scandal, to mistake. I'm just wondering why those charities wanted her as a patron in the first place.
Well, I totally agree. Well, she's tried to reinvent herself in public, of course, as this kind of nice, warm, cuddly person writing children's books. And that's the image she's been presenting to the world at large. And she got a bit of credit for doing Weight Watchers and stuff, which wasn't really a real thing to do, but it looked like she was trying to become a normal person. So her public image was improving over the years. But there's a whole lot of stuff, you know, behind the scenes that wasn't very attractive at all, some of which is now coming out in more detail. But, you know, her and Andrew, I think, have done the royal family an immense amount of damage over the years. They continue to do so. The fact that she's now losing associations with charities, of course, is following what happened to Andrew, because as soon as his shenanigans came out, he was removed from a whole lot of charities. She's trying to catch up with him, perhaps.
Giving him a good run for his money, if I can put it that way. Finally, we read today that Prince William is particularly angry at both Andrew and Fergie. We saw those awkward pictures of William standing next to Andrew at the Duchess of Kent's funeral last week, where William clearly did not want to say a word to his wicked uncle, as it were. William is telling the king, or urging the king, say, look, we must not only banish these people from public royal life, we must banish them privately as well. Do you think that's probably on the cards? I mean, do you think that the king will say, well, enough is enough? It does seem as if, you know, they've finally, this awful couple have really crossed the line this time.
Well, they have, and the public opinion polling shows that I think it's 5% only approve of Prince Andrew's existence and activities as a royal. I have to say, I don't know who those 5% are, but they're clearly not following,
That's true.
following the news. But look, I mean, I think when William becomes king, and I don't know when that will be, but it's going to be, you know, not that long away, I suppose, given Charles's age. He will take a much harder line with Andrew and indeed with Harry, I think, than Charles has done. Charles has been a bit soft on that. He's his brother, he's known him for years and that. Yeah. And in a way, you could argue that, you know, why shouldn't he go along to the funeral or a memorial service for a member of his family? I don't want to be too harsh on the guy. That's a private thing. But William would have been quite keen, as you quite rightly say, Kevin, to make sure there was no photograph taken of him next to Andrew talking, because otherwise that ends up at the front cover of Private Eye with a couple of bubbles.
I agree with you about, you know, why shouldn't Andrew go to, and indeed Fergie, go to the funeral of the Duchess of Kent? And don't forget, that was before these revelations about Epstein and Fergie came out. But you could see that Andrew was using the event to sort of sidle up to everyone he could, shaking hands, you know, trying to act as if he was on the road to rehabilitation, which after the weekend he most very definitely is not. What's your next book going to be called, and when is it coming out, Norman?
It's called Royal Mint National Debt, which tells you what my view is on the finances of the royal family. We pay for them and they benefit. It's coming out probably October the 18th, if we can get the thing together in time.
Excellent. Well, you come on the show and we'll talk about that then.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to read it. Thank you very much, Norman. Always a pleasure. Norman Baker there, former Cabinet Minister. And as I say, he wrote a book called And What Do You Do? And that was about, it's a murky area, royal money, as Norman was just saying. And he's got a new one coming out, which will be equally interesting. Fascinating, I am sure. Let's go to break. When we come back, we'll take your phone calls. I'll read some of your text messages, and usually, I'm not entirely sure, but I'm sure we've got some WhatsApp voice notes as well. So all that's still to come. So stick around, folks.
mentioned the Singaporean model, right? They review it every 5 years. You've got to actually be able to bring benefits. You've got to be able to prove that you can integrate. I think actually you walk around your home, Julia, in London, and I imagine that you'll find many people not too far away from where you are that simply do not integrate within British life.
Absolutely.
And ultimately, we cannot have the social cohesion that we have been so used to for so very long if we actually allow this to continue.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. WhatsApp voice notes. Here's Pete on Palestine.
Is Starmer off his rocker? Has he lost his marbles? Who gave him the permission to turn around and make that decision about Palestine? Because I don't see anything going through Parliament or the House of Lords or the British people, the voters. This has gone way too far. He's inviting in more terror. Is it by making sure there are recognised as a state? We're now going to get floods of Palestinians so-called turning up here legally. You know, more of them claiming.
It's an interesting point that Pete makes. Something as important as recognising the state of Palestine, you know, should arguably go through Parliament, should be put to a vote. But in a way, that's just a technical issue because if Starmer goes to Parliament, he can get anything through. So if he did take the recognition of Palestine to Parliament, it would be ratified, it would be voted in because he's got such a massive majority. But yeah, you're right, he should take that to a debate, but he didn't. So welcome to the wonderful world of the massive majority. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to John in Newcastle. Hello, John.
Hello. After today, Sir Ed Davey was telling us that he doesn't want Nigel Farage's Reform Party to follow Donald Trump's party. But isn't America doing very, very well at the present time? Isn't it one of the best countries going in relation to money that's coming into the place? And Sir Ed Davey and his Liberals, well, it was 100 years plus since they were in last in power by themselves. So I don't think the British people should follow that.
Well, Ed Davey, you know, is massively out of step with the British people. And when he went through a list of the terrible things that would happen if we got a kind of Donald Trump-style leader here, I think he obviously meant Nigel Farage. You know, most of the things I quite approved. I thought, oh, good, yeah, let's have it. But you're right. I mean, I think, you know, there's no doubt that Donald Trump rather exaggerates just how brilliantly America's doing, but it's doing a lot better than us, and certainly in the field of energy policies, it makes us look like a basket case. I mean, they frack, they drill, baby, drill. They have record low energy prices. None of this green claptrap. So thank God for that. They have freedom of speech over there. Generally speaking, I think a great many people I know, millions of people in this country, would love nothing more than a Donald Trump to be in charge, if only, John, to cancel, like he did in America, overnight, at a stroke, he cancelled wokery. We could do with that, couldn't we?
Oh, yes, I'm sure of that. But this country has been doing very badly, I would say, for the last 10, 15 years. And we need a change in this country, because if we don't get one, I think it'll just get worse. It'll not get much better. And we're waiting for the taxes to go up in a couple of months from now, so that's going to be fun and games.
Well, the way this government's going, John, I mean, literally, we could be bankrupt within 2 years, maybe less. Nigel Farage believes 2025 the money will run out, that these policies that this mad government is pursuing, these incoherent energy policies, economic policies, will drive this country to the edge of bankruptcy. That's when Farage thinks they'll have no choice but to call an election.
Yes, I think the people of this country are treated with contempt, whether it's been Conservative, Labour, with the help of the Liberals, both of them during the course of the years gone by. It really, they have contempt for their own people. How is it that we have second-class citizens right throughout Britain? Where I live in Newcastle, there's 7 food banks. They're not getting the same conditions as the illegal immigrants that's coming in, though. They're not getting a hotel. They might have to pay for the gas, electric and council tax, unlike those that have just come across in a dinghy.
Asylum seekers don't need food banks. We're paying for their food.
Exactly.
We pay for everything for them. We pay for their accommodation, for their food, for their healthcare, etc., etc. They don't need food banks.
That's the stupidity of any British government in the past years gone by. They look after others, but they will not look after their own. Thank you.
You're exactly right, John, when you say Ed Davies basically saying to the people, oh, we don't want to be like America, do we? Yes. OK. So, Ed Davies, I mean, he's he's a joke. He's an absolute joke. The guy last week, John, couldn't say whether or not a woman could have a penis. Unbelievable, unbelievable. The answer, by the way, is they can't. Ed was unable to say that. That's just how much of an idiot he is. And he's talking about like maybe a coalition with Labour at the next election to stop reform getting in. Can you imagine that? Ed Davey with one of the serious offices of state doesn't bear thinking about. And by the way, John, as the last point, he says, got to stop reform. If Reform UK forming a government will be a threat to British democracy. So what he's talking about is Reform UK get the most votes and they get voted into power. That is democracy, isn't it? John, good to talk to you. Couldn't agree with you more. Thank you very much. John in Newcastle there. Let's go to break. When we come back, Georgina's on the line, so stand by for that. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Got quite a few messages, text messages. A lot of people writing in about the mega mosque that's being built up there near the Lake District. You saw the pictures, a great big thing for 250 worshippers in a very rural area. Locals saying, well, why? They say 1% of that area, the people living there, are Muslims, Islamic. So why do you need a massive, there it is, if you're watching on TV, why do you need a massive Islamic centre of worship? Why? Look at it, in the middle of nowhere. Lovely area. 1% of the local population are Muslim. Why do they need a massive mega mosque? But Ernie's written in saying, who's paying for that mosque to be built? The money could be used to build a hospital or something. If someone got that amount of spare cash, especially if it's not really needed in that area. Well, the point is, I assume that's the local, you know, the Muslim, the local Muslim community, you know, are paying for it, I assume. You know, it won't be public purse, but still a great big thing to be built in the middle of nowhere. And that campaign, as we were hearing earlier, has not ended yet. They've got a barrister. They're still going to try and stop it. Apparently it's right next to a school. There's a busy road. 200, you can see how big it is, 250 people. It's only got 11 car parking spaces. The mind boggles over that, doesn't it? Let's go back to the phones. We're going to have a run all the way through to 10 o'clock, and at 10 o'clock, or just before 10 o'clock, it's Harry Cole Saves the West, Harry Cole's new programme, so that comes on just after the 10 o'clock news. In the meantime, let's go back to the phones, and it is time for Georgina in London. Hi, Georgina.
Hello, Kevin. Good evening to you. Listen, I've got a few things I want to say about this migration problem. I'm going to get it off my chest because the listeners are probably sick of the sound of my voice.
No, never. You always articulate it so well. What would you like to say? Go on.
Well, I'd just like to say, whilst we've been all preoccupied by the illegal migration coming over the Channel, we've been further invaded by yet another Trojan horse coming in via our skies due to the very stealth inbound flights from Gaza and God knows where else. This government is deliberately drenching our country, Kevin, with foreign migrants, both illegal and legal. And if we dare vent our displeasure to this globalist government who are told to shut up, we may be threatened with worse or have a visit from the police, but we're basically expected to keep working to fund these unwanted individuals. Also, we have to prioritise their cultural needs above our own, and this is to our own detriment. We keep saying, and I know I keep hearing, no anymore because of the lack of cultural assimilation or the danger to both our women and girls or the strain it has on our already buckled economy. But then there's the threat now to our national security. And this incompetent government keeps burying its head in the sand and keeps burying us in a quagmire of debt and danger. And what the British people want to know is what exactly needs to happen before this government actually sees things for what they really are? Or is it just a case that they actually don't give a damn? They've never been given permission to throw us to the wolves, Kevin, and yet they've taken it upon themselves to do exactly that. And it will be to every British man, woman and child that will pay the price for this government's total incompetence.
Well, yeah, and Donald Trump, did you see Donald Trump's speech at the United Nations today, you know, saying that essentially we are destroying ourselves with these migration policies and we are destroying ourselves with our incoherent energy policies as well. And I think the president's right. You know, I just feel we're in the hands of people who just don't know what they're doing. They are taking us down an insane route that's going to be the death of us the way it's going.
Kevin, this is like putting a gun in the hands of a child, letting the Labour government run our country. Our country is dying. The people within our country are dying. They can't afford to pay their bills. They are terrified to let their children out of the house. Women and girls on our streets are no longer safe. Even men are being raped, Kevin. This is serious, and the government keeps driving us onwards into this den of iniquity that none of us have asked for, none of us want, and it needs stopping.
Exactly right, Georgina. I just hope somehow or other, sometime, at some point, some kind of common sense can come into the picture, because there isn't any out there at the moment. Georgina, always good to talk to you. Thanks for another excellent call. Let's go back to the WhatsApp voice note, shall we? This is Daz on that sex offender in Epping.
Hi Kev. This Ethiopian guy who's been done at the Bell Hotel for sexual assault, and he said he didn't know it was a crime here. Well, in Ethiopia, sexual assault or rape is between 5 and 20 years, or even the death penalty. So if you don't think it's a problem here, well, it must obviously it's a problem over there. It's a joke. The system is getting to become an absolute joke.
Couldn't agree with you more, Daz. It is getting ridiculous. Let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Kevin in Basingstoke. Hello, Kevin.
Hello, Kev.
All right, mate. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I think me and Georgina are living in different countries. I mean, does she know what the word invasion means? Anyway, that's not why I phoned in. I shouldn't have said that. Sorry, mate. I was going to talk about...
Yeah, what does invasion mean? It means people from foreign countries invading your nation, doesn't it?
It's a armed foreign army that tries to overthrow.
No, invasion doesn't necessarily refer to armed foreign armies. You look up what invasion actually means.
I did. I'm quoting it from the Oxford Dictionary.
It's an armed foreign army.
It still sounds like a different country, because I don't recognise anything she said. But I mean,
okay.
I appreciate that's her view. But anyway, the royal family.
Mm-hmm.
There's always scandal about the royal family, isn't there? I mean, it's nothing new. Look at, the Queen gave Andrew millions of pounds, and he gave it to that lady, and you know.
Well, we don't know that. We think the Queen probably helped him out. We don't know that. £12 million to Virginia Giuffre to avoid going to a civil case in America.
Yeah.
She, of course, claiming that he sexually abused her or had sex with her against her when she was too young on 3 different continents. The Prince, of course, the Prince denies that, but a lot of us say, well, if you didn't do it, why are you giving her 12 million quid?
Yeah, exactly. So they are privileged, and they do get away with a hell of a lot. And it's nothing new, is it? You just look back in history; it happens all the time. I mean, Charles brought in £2 million into the country in suitcases. I mean.
Yeah, no, and that's why I had Norman Baker on. There's something very murky about the royal family and money. There always has been. We don't really know their finances. As Norman said, what is the Duchy of Cornwall all about? What on earth is going on when the King gets the Duchy of Cornwall to buy Highgrove so he can rent it back? I mean, what is going on there? What is that all about? Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I mean, all their tax affairs are private. I mean...
And I think to some extent that's understandable. But do you remember not so long ago when the Queen didn't used to pay tax, and there was such a sort of uproar among the public that she had to agree to pay tax. So that's a good. The monarch does now pay tax. I don't necessarily, I'd like to know more about their finances, but I don't necessarily believe that should entail us knowing the intimate details of their tax affairs. But I think we should know more about their financial businesses because we don't know very much.
No, but I mean, she submits all the information and they can't scrutinise it, and she sets the terms of how much tax she wants to pay.
Who does? Who does?
Yeah.
Who submit? Who?
The Queen. The Queen.
What do you mean, Queen Camilla?
No, the monarch then. Sorry.
Do you mean the late Queen?
Well,
you've got to get your sovereign right, Kev.
Well,
we're talking about a king, aren't we? We're talking about a king.
About the Queen, but I mean.
Well, why are you talking about the Queen? She's no longer with us, sadly.
It will be the king.
Huh?
The monarch. Sorry. The
yeah.
monarch.
So when you said Queen, you meant the king, didn't you?
Well, the king. Yeah.
Well, yes, you did mean the king. He's our sovereign. He's the monarch. You were talking about the Queen. You meant the late Queen, who hasn't been with us now, sadly, for I think 3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are you saying about the king?
Yeah. So if he doesn't want to pay any tax,
well, he does pay tax.
No, but if he decides not to, then he doesn't have to.
Well, no. He does pay tax, and he does have to now. There used to be a system. There used to be a kind of system whereby, because we essentially pay the Queen's state our taxes, she didn't have to pay tax. But due to a public outcry, she agreed to pay tax, and so, of course, so does the King. From now on, our monarch will always have to pay tax. So what is it that you're saying? So he can't turn around and say, I don't want to pay tax anymore.
Well, I mean, did you watch the Channel 4 documentary when he was making money hand over fist all over the place, from the Lifeboat Society, from the ambulance service, the military, the prison service?
But I mean, you know, you might not like that, but it's not against the law, is it?
No, it's not against the law, but I mean, they're one of the wealthiest.
So what is it? What point? What are you trying to say, Kevin? I'm not quite sure what point you're trying to make.
What I'm saying is,
I mean, apart from the late Queen's tax affairs from 3 years ago, what is it? What kind of point you're trying to make in terms of today?
Today is they're so privileged and they just try to get away with things, and we don't get to hear about it.
What do you mean? Well, yeah, I mean, maybe. Look, I agree with you, Kev. There is something very murky about their finances, and I'd like to know more about them. I'd certainly like to know what this business of the King selling Highgrove to the Duchy of Cornwall and then renting it himself privately. Well, I'd like to know what the hell that's all about.
Well, yeah, I mean, I haven't heard of that. I mean, it was the first time I heard about it.
No, but I found out yesterday. I think it's an extraordinary situation. I'd like to know about this. But, you know, what we have to stress is I'm with you. I know what you mean. These are fabulously wealthy people who can make money left, right and centre all over the place because of their position, because of the land they own, their rental, their palaces and all that. I want to know more about their money. But they're not breaking the law in any way, are they? So you're just saying, well, I mean, what is the point you're making?
Well, I mean, look at someone like Angela Rayner. I mean, when her tax affairs, I mean, that was big news for ages, wasn't it? And she lost her job. I mean, Nigel Farage, said he bought a house in Clacton.
No, he didn't. Well, no, he didn't.
He said he bought a house in Clacton.
No, he didn't.
What did he say then?
He didn't say he bought a house in. He said he doesn't own a house in Clacton. His partner does.
Yeah, I know. But
so he didn't say he bought a house in Clacton because he didn't buy a house in Clacton.
No, she did.
Well, so what's wrong with that?
No, what I'm saying is other people's tax affairs and what have you, there's huge stories about it, but when it comes to them...
Well, that's not strictly true. You know, there have been stories about the royal family's tax affairs. Yeah, they're privileged, they're very rich, you know, life's not fair. They're not breaking any laws, though. I still can't quite get it through my head what it is. What are you trying to say, that privileged people don't pay enough tax or something like that?
Well, no, they're sort of like two-tiered justice. I mean, do you know there's 160 laws that they don't have to live by that we do?
Name one.
Environment laws. I mean,
what are you talking about? What are you can't say there's 160 laws that we all have to obey that the royal family don't, and you can't even name a single one.
I can. Equality.
What do you mean equality?
If you are employed by the royal family and you're a minority and you get discriminated against, you can't fight for some sort of justice.
You think that, do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I know it's true.
Yeah, all right then. Yeah, fair enough.
If you're a woman or if you're black and you're discriminated,
where did you get that from? What did you get? Where'd you get that? Look, the royal family have to.
Life, that is true.
Well,
Kevin.
it's not true. The equality laws can involve everyone. You're saying that, you know, I don't know, Prince William, Prince Harry, you know, Prince Harry, all these members of the royal family. There's all these laws they don't have to obey.
Yeah, 160.
Where did you get that from?
The internet.
Google.
Oh, well. Oh, why didn't you say? You got it from the internet. I stand correct. Kevin, I'm only keeping you on the line because you make me laugh. Honestly, you live on another planet, but it's good to talk to you. Take care now. Crazy Kevin, Basingstoke there. Let's get back onto planet Earth, shall we? Let's talk to Mark in Lincolnshire. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Kev, mate. You're right.
Yeah, I'm all right, yeah.
That was fun.
I don't know what that guy gets off. Go on anyway, sorry.
Right, yeah, a couple of things. Just wanted really quickly, it's just kind of happening at the minute. Something for you to have a quick look into at some point, Kev. A suspected failed terror attack near a synagogue in Oslo, apparently.
When? Today?
That's ongoing now, mate.
Oh, is it?
That's kind of like breaking news. So, yeah.
Oslo. What is it again? What's happening?
According to this, breaking suspected failed terror attack near the synagogue in Oslo.
A failed terror attack. Well, more anti-Semitism as well. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. Loud explosion, grenades, blah, I don't know, whatever.
We'll have a look at that. Yeah. Okay.
It's a little bit sketchy at the minute, to be fair. But,
yeah. All right.
But other than that, it was what I wanted to talk about was if you remember back a little while ago, you had the chap that burnt the Quran outside the Turkish embassy, Kev.
Sorry, Mark, what were you saying? By the way, we've looked up, we can't see anything about Oslo.
Yeah, that's just popped up from some Norwegian news channel on X that has reported that. Whether that.
Do you know what, Mike? I've pretty much had enough of people giving me news from the internet tonight. What with one thing and another. Don't you start. But no, seriously, we have looked it up. We can't see anything. But
yeah, fair enough, mate.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, the serious point that I was actually ringing about. The guy that... Do you remember the guy that burnt the Quran outside the...
Of course I do, yeah. The guy that got done for religious hatred or something or other, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the guy... Can you remember there was a guy that attacked him? If you remember that as well. There was a guy that come out, started slashing at him with a knife and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's just had his sentence today. A guy called Musa Kadri, 59-year-old.
Yeah.
Who saw Hamid Koskan, which is the guy that was burning the Quran, basically punched him to the ground, kicked him, spat on him, and then started slashing at him with a knife. And he's walked away today with a suspended. Well,
yeah, he's the guy who attacked him. That's interesting. By the way, I've found the Oslo story. Residents have been urged to stay indoors after an explosion rang out in the centre of Oslo. Police confirmed that undetonated explosives remained at the site following the initial blast, and locals should stay away from their windows, and so on and so forth. It doesn't say anything.
A lot of rubbish then.
Doesn't say. Well, no, it's out there. We'll have a proper look at it. Listen, Mark, thanks for the tips. We'll look into both of them. Thank you very much. Good to talk to you, Mark, in Lincolnshire. Let's go back to WhatsApp voice notes. This is Hev on the Super Mosque.
Hi, Kev. Oh, my God. That looks totally out of place. I would be absolutely appalled if I could see something like that, whether it's a mosque or anything else. It's just ridiculous. But the thing is, what are the council doing about it? Making money. That's what they're doing about it. Somebody wants to build or make something that they have to apply for, which means paying the council. That's all it's about. Just the council making money. They don't give a monkeys.
Yeah, I mean, the locals are furious because, indeed, they say that they just haven't been listened to. And somehow or other, a very small number of Muslims in the area, their needs have been deemed to be more important than the needs or what the local community say their needs are. And their needs, they say, are not to have this huge mosque, mega mosque, in the middle of their rural community. But we'll keep you posted on that story. Let's go to Jeff in Manchester. Hello, Jeff.
Hello, Kevin. Good show, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much, mate. What would you like to say?
Yeah, just like to say about the constant about the incompetence of the government and the migration. I don't think it's really anything to do with incompetence. I think it's a controlled movement of people that's been planned.
Who by?
It's just by European governments. I think it's coming from Europe and it's coming from the World Economic Forum. I don't think it's any. I don't think the people who's in charge now, I don't think they've got any say.
World Economic Forum, Jeff, is pretty much over. I mean, you know, that Schwab guy.
Yeah,
that Schwab guy's been kicked out. You know, nobody went to Davos this year. If there's any kind of super plan about migration, it's not coming from the World Economic Forum. So I would suggest you find yourself a new bogeyman, because that is yesterday's news.
Well, but I don't think, just seriously, if you look at the position from Occam's razor, looking at what is the most likely problem, you seriously think every single government...
No, I'm just saying I don't believe it's the World Economic Forum. I mean,
we'll leave that then, and we'll just move on to talk about why you think it is that everybody's completely incompetent.
Well, because they are.
It's a plan.
Because they are.
It's like all the money that we're giving to France. That's not to stop them. That's to bring them halfway.
Hang on. So what do you mean by that? So we give them half a billion pounds not to stop the migrants.
So they're bringing up from French waters.
I see. So we're paying them to bring them.
We're paying them to bring them halfway. So we pick them up at halfway, and then we bring them across. There's no small boats landing on the UK shores anymore. They're coming in on either lifeboats or they're coming in on Coast Guard. So they get picked up in the channel and they're brought here. There's not a single small boat landing on this coast.
Yeah, well, why would we give them £500 million for that?
Why would we do it? Because it's a control movement of people. It's a planned movement of people.
You think that, do you, Jeff? You do. Let me tell you, the reason for this is chaos and incompetence. That's what it is. That's what it is. Yeah. You think Starmer's clever, do you? Think Macron's clever? They're not that bright. They're not that bright. They really aren't. It's never conspiracy. It's always incompetence. Trust me. It is. It is. You can come up with your big world views on all of this if you like, Jeff, but and I wish you were right. I wish you were right, but I don't think you are. These are just a useless people incapable of dealing with an escalating crisis. That's the way it is, Jeff. That's the way the world is. There's no superpower working all this rubbish out, trust me. In a way, I wish there was. But good to talk to you, Jeff. Thanks very much for a good call. Jeff in Manchester. Finally, he can finish the show very quickly. Tarquin in London. You got 30 seconds, Tarquin.
King Kevin, best show on Talk Radio.
Thank you.
Right, I caught the front end with the brilliant Stephen Barrett. Brilliant.
He's good, isn't he? Yeah, I love him. Yeah.
I love that guy. He's just so on the money. And he said something when you two were discussing it. I just wanted to quickly say, forgive me if my facts are a bit twisted.
Very quickly, yeah.
I think that the Chief Constable of Essex Police, whose name escapes me, who came out with some pathetic statement at the time when the police ferried those lefties. Yeah. Do you remember that? Isn't it about time that he wrote a letter of apology to all the parents?
Well, maybe, Tarquin. We'll have to do that another time. Gotta go. It's Harry Cole next. See you there tomorrow. Bye-bye.
model, right? They review it every 5 years. You've got to be able to prove that you can integrate. I think actually you walk around your home, Julia, in